50th birthday.
What?
This shit's gonna be busy.
Wait, Canada's only 150 years old?
I thought Canada was 217 years old.
What?
Do you get
so anyways,
it?
Jamal's a retard.
Do you get it?
I don't get it.
Because you should
actually.
get it.
Broke.
It's the year 2017.
Fuck.
I wonder if Jerma's streaming. That seems pretty interesting.
He's not.
Who the fuck is Slippery Jim? I wonder
No, it's separate Jim out there.
I can't even use the picture to go off of because Jim was fucked up just like his is.
Oh.
So I
can't even use Jamel's to go off of because Jamel's also fucked up. Who the fuck is
wrong,
Slippery Jim? Also, there we go. Game's up. Hey, I'm gonna take a.
Now, recently we've had people saying some mean things.
What the fuck? Oh, that's Noob playing something. Noob, fuck off with your stupid memes. Let's go.
Say, Alexander, you need to stop that.
I
Is
swear
strawberry
to God.
banana or banana strawberry?
I can't wait to buy alcohol tomorrow. That's part of my grocery list. I'm not even joking. Fucking beer and liquor is on my fucking shopping list tomorrow.
Ready up, Jamal.
I am. You got. Fuck you.
I am. Smash found. Okay.
You're in my stream. You can see that I had it set.
How do I mute this garbage?
Mute what garbage?
I don't feel it.
You.
Say no.
Do you not know how to mute a thing?
Mute button.
The mute button's gone.
What do you mean the mute button's gone?
You're stupid as fuck, apparently.
I can't mute you. And
My keyboard disappeared.
I'm on my phone, you stupid fucking.
My mouse.
Spectrum.
You're on the spectrum.
So,
You are the spectrum.
My
You're
phone.
literally the
The
embodiment
screen
of the spectrum.
disappeared.
say, Alexander.
Unfollow Master Onion, yes.
I mean, that's the
You
trend
gonna
nowadays.
Haha, I got all the fucking new weapons.
There. I fucking just muted my entire phone. If I get a phone call, I'm fucked.
Jesus Christ.
Say, it's
Well,
me,
who's gonna
Chris
fucking
Cheyenne.
call you at 9:30 at night?
Ah, fucking. Oh boy, 9:30.
Sorry,
Are you
Christine
gonna get a
West
call
Chandler.
from work like, hey, you're fired? Oh. If you don't pick up the phone, then you're not fired.
I'm the only person in the fucking building that knows how to do anything technological. So whenever the fucking server fucking broke, I had to fucking look up how to fix a goddamn server. I have no fucking idea. I fucking.
Did you turn it off and turn it on again?
Yes, and it worked.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to turn off a server.
That's my job.
You're not supposed to turn off a server.
You can now get paid $25 an hour.
I was my manager actually jokingly, but kind of not jokingly, said that she would fucking ask if I could be the on-site tech guy, because apparently fucking turning things on and off again is too fucking hard.
Yo, let's go to that little let's go to that Prattman's.
I asked my manager why she always hits caps lock twice when she tells her password, and so, oh, because there's a caps in there. Like, well, you can just hit shift. She's like, really? You can do that? And I'm like, oh god.
Sorry.
3, 2, 1, go.
Sneeze. I had to explain to one of my managers the other day that you can also hit enter instead of having to drag the fucking trackpad over to the button that says yes.
Well, Robert, tell the same person that didn't know you could copy and paste by hitting Control C and Control B.
I mean, to be fair, that's not really like a well-known thing to like old.
There's a
people.
shit ton of people here, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Also, the world isn't loaded in yet.
Sonoma Joe. Did they add vaulting yet?
Nope.
No, they did not.
God damn it.
Okay.
One squad
During-
confirmed.
Apartments are not appearing for me.
Well, just drop on my marker. Noob, there's gonna be a guy in your building. Oh, I guess. Never mind.
Oh no, I'm gonna land in the middle. I'm gonna land in the middle.
I call a vector! I call that fucking vector! Fuck you!
Help!
What?
Help! Ah!
I can shoot you down with you.
No!
Please let me get the car. Please let me get the car. Please let me get the car. If I get the car, I can kill everyone.
Well, I guess I'll clear out the building from the bottom.
Kind of vroom vroom or pew pew?
I got the
There's
pistol.
a guy in the west building. Kind of obvious, but he's not going down yet.
So you can pull out your
Who's in the front
pistol
door?
faster.
Someone's
though.
at the front door. Someone's in that building.
In our building?
Oh, I think it's Junior Ryan Jamal. I didn't see her at the bottom floor already.
Oh, no, okay.
Never mind.
Thanks! Thanks!
Well, I didn't fucking know!
Jamal's already dead.
Because of noob!
Don't assume. I said maybe. I saw you down there.
What do you mean, maybe?
I heard footsteps.
Like he means maybe you were gonna die.
I'm going to kill myself. I've been streaming for fucking 5.5 minutes and I'm already salty.
I mean,
Anyone have a grenade?
I do.
it's like when Noob told me not to use a shotgun.
Throw it at the door, but a little bit past the door.
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
guys
see
are
you.
left side.
Here. Take it.
Okay.
Jamal, you can spectate me in my journey to meet up with everyone.
You're not really that far away either.
Kobe.
The
Oh my
fucking
God.
lane is right beside him.
Oh, I'm. Oh, I
Hey,
was
just
covering
remember
it.
that there's a guy in the building.
Yeah, noob, watch the door.
Hey,
I have a pistol.
Jamal, am I
Hello?
lagging right now? Because I think I'm lagging.
Looks like you
Why
are.
can't I walk? Is there
I
a
think he
building?
might
that-
have fucking
you're
jumped
walking
off the
into a
side.
building.
There's no fucking way this guy's still here.
Jamal, tell me when I hit. Tell me when I can walk through the door.
Okay, let's go kill him.
You're on the completely opposite side.
Okay, I'm jumping downstairs. I'm gonna ambush him.
Still completely
Oh,
opposite
fuck.
side.
Good thing I fucking set this thing back to auto, because it was such a burst video.
Yeah, so my game is fucked right now. I don't see half the buildings that are supposed to be appearing right now. So. Wait, doesn't that mean that I can see people?
I wonder if we should take that auto. Or the
Okay,
easy
Andar,
as
wait,
well.
Andar, I can mark some people for you. There's 2 people in the opposite building from you guys.
give us
Right here. Over in blue building, there's 2 people right there. They're walking out now, I
Okay.
think.
Okay, I knew there was at least one in there, so that's good.
There's also one guy heading towards you, Noob.
Fuck. He's down.
There's another guy opposite of him. He has a crossbow, I think. Yep, he's trying to shoot you, Noob. And Noob, there's someone in the building with you, I think.
I know that.
He's above you. Okay, now he's leaving, I think. He's on your floor. He's coming right towards you, Noob. He's coming right towards you.
He's hit. No, he's lit.
And there's one person Okay, Noob's dead. And there's also
Holy
one
shit,
person
Noob.
behind the building.
He deserved it. That's the same guy that killed me.
Where is he?
All right,
Okay,
wow.
Andar, he's right next. You're fucking.
Oh,
Okay, there's the other guy's coming in the building now. The guy wearing a red shirt. There's also a guy prone by a tree right now. If I had ammo. Okay, Andar, I'll tell you when they're coming in. Okay, so now the guy. Okay, they're all fucking coming for you, Andar. Okay, they're flanking you from
guys.
both sides. Okay,
Guys,
Andar, he's rushing you. Rushing you. He's about to come through. Oh, I'm fucked.
Red zone, yeah.
Well,
Let's go punch the guys that are laying down.
Andar, the other guy's coming. There's one more guy coming in. There's one more guy. One more guy.
Where?
He's came in the
right-
door.
There's another guy coming too. What the fuck?
The one that you someone just came out of, yeah. The fucking. He's there. Punch him. I'm
You're
gonna-
done. There's another guy behind you. Another guy behind you. I can't save you.
No!
Oh, well. Go punch him.
Oh!
Just run there and punch him.
Noob, I don't know. I can't see a door.
Fucking okay. Shit. Okay, keep going right. Okay.
How do I switch to
Turn-
fist?
Just hit
You're
X.
facing the door. Yeah, press X.
How do I switch to fist?
X.
Press
X.
X!
That's Z.
I know.
That's A.
Yeah, you're in the doorway now. Go left. You got your pistol out!
You hit him. I'll be honest. If you actually did pistol, you probably would have killed him.
Okay, can I just show you a screenshot of what I was
No,
seeing? this
we know what
entire
happened.
time?
That happens all the time.
Fucking
I've never had
Christ,
that happen to me.
That
That
was
happened once.
terrible.
I got
I
stuck
just-
on the guy's body, so I couldn't fucking sidestep
Hey,
as much as I wanted to.
at least I gave some
Another guy
good
could
call
do it.
outs. I gave some pretty good call outs.
And everyone was fucking just demolished.
I got fucking 3 kills though.
Oh,
To be fair, I
bullshit,
was
though.
like giving you psychic fucking advice.
Well, I didn't. Okay. Yes, you told me they were coming, but I didn't realize they were literally on the other side of the wall as me. So as soon as
Yeah,
I popped
yeah.
out the doorway, they're
You fucking-
point blank. Like
You
literally,
fucking-
I'm touching them.
You're checking the fucking hallway and he's fucking sucking your dick.
And one of them had a pan, so he absorbed so many fucking bullets. And that's why I had to switch over the shotgun to shoot him once or twice.
Okay, I gotta. I'm restarting fucking Pubg, but
Pugg.
Oh
I
my
think
god.
I think it broke. Holy shit, that was fucking brutal. Alright, how do I fucking call it? Why is it called TSL game?
Ready up.
That was fucking...
You do realize one of us is missing, right?
Jeez, fruit ready up. What the fuck?
I just fucking, I was gone for a second.
Alright, Andar, I'm gonna put in a fucking push of what I fucking saw. Assuming push still works, it's been fucking breaking a lot recently.
Oh, that's right when I died. Oh. No.
And that was how Andar knew. He fucked up.
Yeah, apparently push is just broken right now for some fucking reason.
I don't know why, but push fucking sucks for me now. It takes so fucking long just to push one little fucking thing.
Here you go, this is what I was seeing, by the way.
Now I can see why you got a little fucked up on where they were exactly. Oh, shit.
Again, like, there was nothing. There was no building I could see, so it was just... I saw, like, 3 guys, like, circling Andar, basically. To be fair, Andar, you almost took out the entire group.
I know. I got him down to probably, like, next to no health. Fucking tan.
If I had been able to hit him, I still wouldn't have been able to get out of the fucking area. Because... Also, I'm ready up. Are you guys ready?
Oh, you're back? Okay, hold on.
God, that was painful.
I didn't know you were back in already.
I had a pistol, but I had 9mm, but the pistol wasn't a 9mm pistol, so I was just like, well, guess I'm fucked.
And then you come in and all you hear is click, 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 click while you're trying to fucking punch the guy. You have your gun out.
I accidentally scrolled down. Fucked up.
Oh, is it sunset? Oh, no, I thought it was sunset.
Oh god, that was...
This looks different, though.
That was pretty fucking fun, though. Also,
Feels brighter.
It's high noon right now.
It's
not high noon, but it's noonish.
You know what time it is. You can see the building from the island from over here. That's kind of weird.
Oh, it's Stephen Christ. I am awake, though. That's how I'm playing the game, dummy.
Right.
I am awake.
I do not like the default sights on the Groza. Oh my god. But it's fucking accurate. Yes, it's a bullpup.
Who took all the pistol rounds?
There's really not much fucking recoil.
Also, the revolver says it's powerful. Maybe I'll start using it more.
That reload, though.
It can't be that bad. Wait, there's an entire bunker here? What the fuck?
Yeah, there's like actually shit on the island. Like someone took a massive turd.
There's some guy singing the Chowder theme song.
I don't know why, but in my head I was going rock and roll McDonald's.
Yeah, bro, get in the Discord.
Oh,
Masked Onion at twitch.tv.
God damn it. I don't want this attention.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna jump off here because I'm stupid.
Don't.
I looked up to see.
Okay,
Jamal, guy just
Let's not go to the absence school. Please.
Let's go to Roanoke.
So you start riding the plane to the very end.
I guess we're just fucking taking the fucking plane.
Right into the end and
kill AFKs.
Now?
I'm just happy that you fucking.
No!
I'm gonna bail now just so I can go first to.
There's a lot of AFKs.
The buildings that is marked.
You take the moon and you take the sun. You take everything that seems like fun. Start all up.
I'm going to green, by the way.
I guess I'll go with Papa Ando.
You take Jamal, and also, how do I know if they're AFK or not?
They aren't
standing
moving.
still. If they're basically going straight down. And...
Never mind, those guys aren't AFK.
Oh my god, there's a lot of them. Holy shit.
Can I kill the AFKs?
Hello, fellow Insomniac. I'm sick as fuck right now.
Come on, drop me, drop me! I'm on the ground!
Can I kill some of the AFKs this time?
Shit.
I'm getting them.
Who's not gonna let me?
Who got the vehicle?
Me.
Oh.
I'm coming to run the fucking over. Where they at? Where they at? Where they at? Where they at?
Jamal,
It's a
come towards
bush.
me. Jamal, come straight towards me.
I hit one of them, but I don't think I did anything.
Oh, if they disconnect the.
Wait, Jamal, let me get the car. Let me get the car.
No, hold on.
Being shot at. I'm being shot at. Please, actually. Yeah, you got people coming in from fucking the north from east.
They aren't real. None of them are real. This is
We're
exciting.
being shot
Fuck
at,
it.
fruit. Stop being fucking.
What?
There's a guy in my car.
Fuck, I'm about to get the.
Oh shit, where are they at? Where are they at?
Eat
I
shit,
told you
nerd.
6 times. They're fucking east.
East?
Yeah, rack up the kills.
How east?
There's a guy
Fucking
stuck.
town.
In the town? Oh, they're shooting at me. Hello.
If I start killing AFKs now, I'll be rich. Jamal, drive towards me. Need a car. Need a car.
Deja vu.
Oh my god, please don't.
Do you see the guy stuck on my roof? Oh fuck, he's gone.
Alright, let's get some fucking ammo and guns. So we don't die instantly. Well, that puts me at 5 goddamn
Well, that was
kills.
the lamest fucking AFK killing fest.
Oh, I got 3.
None of them, I tried running them all over and none of them did anything.
Should've used
There
a
was a
gun.
guy stuck on T-pose on my roof.
Baseball cap, need gun. Baseball cap, need gun. Baseball cap, need gun.
This is the
P1911.
longest I've ever been in a vehicle in this game.
Ooh, gas mask.
I'm going to the next building over to find a weapon.
Don't go over to that other area because there's people there. There's
I
about
just
4
gave
people.
someone an assist. Or something
Shit,
like that.
I'm dead probably.
Yeah, why aren't you with the rest of the group?
And I'm gonna lead someone towards you. He has gun.
Hey,
Okay.
Jamal, I'm coming towards you.
Where's
I
he
have a
coming
gun.
from?
I'm driving
Do you
away
hear
from
him?
you.
I'm down. Just leave me dead. Doesn't matter. You got a bike coming to mine? He's gonna run me over.
Jamal, why are you leaving me behind, you fuck?
I'm trying to find a weapon.
Okay, you could wait for your buddy.
Fuck you. You've been
I
making
hit him.
Chris Chan fucking dialogue all this time.
Do you have a gun or no?
I mean, I
Nope.
could just blow up your car.
Did you have anything?
Nope.
Guess I'm using a crowbar.
Yeah, somebody stole my hood ornament.
You're a piece of shit, Jamal.
I know. Oh, some 762. Oh, an SKS. Nice.
Where's the zone? Oh my god, we're gonna need to drive.
It's not that far away. We can walk that.
It's been worse.
Yeah, try having
I
it be
mean,
on the exact other side of the
hey.
fucking world.
Jamal, we could drive, or we could, you know, drive. How about we drive?
Deja vu? Oh shit, there's a 3 dollar. There we go.
Sorry, I don't want to appreciate it. Hey, do you want me to pick you up?
Okay. I would take this as long as I would need to drive there, and then well, you just go there.
Fruit stole my car.
Oh, there's another one nearby.
I didn't steal your car, actually. There was another
there's,
car.
There's 3 fucking vehicles here.
Fruit stole my car.
Yeah, I stole your car.
Who killed
Jamal.
Hannibal?
Who killed Hannibal? So, are we ready to
Oh
get
God,
the fuck
Ando
out of here?
spooked me.
Because I got a shotgun, so I can attempt to kill
I'm still
someone
trying
now.
to loot things. I'd like to find a better scope for this SKS I found.
Mm.
Oh Jesus.
Who killed Hannibal?
Who killed Hannibal?
I don't get that joke.
But everybody, I'm pretty sure Ender already knows, but I'm gonna say everyone else, you can no longer change the firing mode when you're reloading.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And you can open doors while reloading, but it will cancel your reload.
Alright, either Kilbert made a new
But you
Twitch
finished
account.
the animation, so watch your shit.
Either Kilbert made a new Twitch account, or there's somebody completely here by chance with the name A. Kilbert.
I don't.
I'm assuming it's Kilbert.
You know there are other people called Gilbert, right?
Yeah, but like, it's Kilbert. Okay, it's definitely Kilbert, because he said he's watching us at work, and then he wants to kill himself. So that's definitely our friend Kilbert. Also, thanks for leaving me behind, you fuckwads.
I walked.
Well,
Yeah,
you have a car, right? And I'm throwing smokes. Jamal needs to find us. Oh, you ready to get the fuck out of here?
No.
Oh, is that an SMG? Ooh.
Yes.
Alright, you drive, I guess. I call shotgun. Oh shit!
Don't hit me.
There's nothing in
You know,
there. I looted
don't you
it.
have your own
Damn it.
fucking car?
I mean, I did.
Lazy piece of shit.
Oh, this is gonna suck.
Yeah, vape niche, bro. I'm using my fucking old ass mod with an RDA that Junior gave me, and it doesn't work well.
Oh, maybe there won't be any people with vertical. The plane didn't go that way.
There's that little house. There's that thing up ahead we can go to.
This juice tastes like bubbles.
Yeah, I'll stop here quickly.
Alright, get out of the car now.
I thought you were about to fucking dive out of it.
No, that kills you.
Yeah.
It doesn't kill you, but it leaves you with...
I got
extra-
ran over by Noob doing that once.
What was that one time we were using car as cover and you ran in front of it like a fucking idiot and inhaled and
Fuck
fucking
you.
let it hit you?
Fuck you.
It started off
Fuck
as
you.
fucking mobile
Oh, fuck
cover.
you!
Oh, pan. GG, I
I
win.
wonder if it's a Chinese
Otherwise.
restaurant that delivers around here.
Hey, Andrew, I
the
got a quick
closest
draw.
one that I found is like fucking 40 minutes
Quick
away.
draw for your SMG if you
I'm
want
gonna
it.
extend it, so, but thank you.
But then again, Noob, you're like 70 hours away, so...
Ooh, gas mask. That's better than my half gas mask.
I didn't know you can aim with the crowbar. This
Yeah.
plays like Resident Evil.
Wow, it really does. You know, you've actually technically played a game that's basically just Resident Evil, right?
Yeah, this.
No, Evil Within.
Yeah, I know.
I
I
looted that
have
already,
technically played Resident Evil before, but I played some
I
shit.
looted that building already.
Apparently, there's a place called Dragon Chinese Cuisine that's literally 5
Flash
minute walk
hider
away.
for SMG, Andar.
Huh?
Flash hider for SMG if you
I
want it.
already have one.
Shut up. Why do you have everything?
Noob left my
I picked
stream.
it all up.
Noob left my stream.
Yeah, Chinese food, you fucking. Here. I'll make a hot dog. It's too late to order anyway. You guys enjoy being gay.
Okay.
Getting here is okay, except for.
There could have been a scope in that building.
Where do you guys want to go?
There
Somewhere
could have
that
been a
has
Loot
rocket
this
launcher.
side, or?
Let's go left.
Yeah, let's loot
Let's
this
not go
side.
straight through.
Probably be less people here because it's by the zone. I don't even know. Okay, let's go to these apartment buildings. Okay.
Fruit, Kilbert would like your attention.
Why? What's up?
I don't know. He just said give fruit for me.
Okay, I'm getting the north one.
I got
Someone
this
get the
one.
middle and someone get the south.
Yeah, I got the middle one.
Alright, I guess I'll take this one. I hope there's a scope in here.
Oh god, there's a person. Bang, bang, he's dead. Do we
Kilbert
need a
says,
gas can?
fruit, I miss you, baby. Oh shit, okay, there's people in here. I wish I
Alright.
didn't close this door before I came in. I just fucked myself. I could have just fucking... Somebody want to save me?
Jamal, walk towards the window.
There is no window.
Yeah, there is. Keep going towards it.
No. He's camping the stairs. I'm
that
at
window.
the thing. I'm at the front door. If I poke my head out for a second, he's gonna shoot me. Fuck you. Fuck yourself. Bitch.
I mean, to be fair, you're already dead.
I mean, there is the possibility you could save me, but...
What'd they kill you with exactly?
I don't... They
Okay.
shot me as soon as I walked into the fucking door!
I'm coming.
He's camping the staircase.
What
All right.
floor?
He,
And
like
I'm
the
coming
very
with you.
first
Oh
floor.
shit!
What? Already? Like, I could probably just get into a window. Is he outside?
Yeah.
Alright. I don't see him. He's not in the window anymore, though.
Damn it. I was trying to get underneath the stairs so he couldn't shoot me. I just bleed out.
I don't see him anymore.
Gilbert said, fruit, I miss you, baby.
I mean, to be fair, you don't really hang out with us anymore, Gilbert. You keep flaking on us. Wait, oh, it's just a fucking assault rifle I can just take.
Yeah, everybody remember that time that Gilbert disappeared at the LAN party and died? He came back as a paraplegic.
1 second, Andrew. I got an assault rifle. I'm coming over.
One's at the outside of the building on the right corner.
Oh, fuck, really?
Yeah.
Is that you moving right now, Andar? Because I hear someone.
No, that's...
Andar, watch my ass. I'm gonna do a stupid thing.
How about you face the other way? I'll fucking watch the front of the building and you watch the back.
That's probably a lot smarter than what I'm doing right now. Okay, we're good. I'm just gonna take a med kit, or a first aid kit, the shittier one. Alright,
You did
Andar.
everything this guy had?
Basically, yeah, there's not much else. Sorry. There's some...
There's not much else, just, you know, like, every single mod for this fucking thing that I have. Do you have any 5.56? Can you drop me, like, just 30? Like, that's all I need.
Andar, come, so it's going! Okay, he's outside. He's dead.
Okay.
So, Jamal, do you assume that there might be any others?
I mean, I don't know who killed me. I can't check who killed me.
Was his name Jerry Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Was it Johnny the Rapist?
Yes.
God, we're already too late.
Dear God.
I've never seen a man use a corpse as a condom.
God damn it, man.
What? Ooh, a level 3 helmet. Ooh, level 2 backpack.
Don't take that 7.62.
I won't. Keep it. Bullet loops, need that shit. Shotgun choke, need that shit. Police vest.
And for you got some fly ass sneakers there.
Thanks.
I said fruit.
I thought you said Andor.
No. You got fucking punk boots. Boots. I'm turning Canadian.
Alright, I'm making bad choices. I'm going into the house.
I'm fucking decked out now.
Alright. I'm gonna loot Jamal's corpse. Ooh, you had a level 3 military vest? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how I went down so quick.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked, actually. How'd you fuck up that?
It's probably because I didn't have a helmet, and I ran into a building where a guy just domed my fucking afro in. Waza says, my viewer list says we have 8 people here. We're big time now. According to mine, we have 5, so...
If you find a medkit and or like a soda, I'd fucking kill for one right now.
Okay,
I should have bandages on my body.
I basically am. I'm past bandage range.
Oh, you're past bandage? Oh, no, you can still use some bandages.
Oh, never mind. Found some bandages. Let's try them out then.
And on my
What the
body,
hell's
there's
it?
a med
I
kit.
Wait, first aid kit. I'll bandage up and then first aid.
why don't you
Also-
just take that fucking SKS instead of the AK?
Do it. Avenge me. Avenge me!
All right, so when the fuck?
You guys got a ways to run, and you have 6 seconds to the others moving.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's get
shit.
the fuck out of here. Where's the truck? We still have a car, right?
No.
No, they popped my tires.
Ah, shit. Really?
And
Yeah.
I walked into a building and got lit the fuck up. We all went into 3 separate buildings, and I'm the one that got the... we basically played Russian roulette.
I've learned to use fucking point-blank auto fire on people when I don't have my shotgun out.
Yeah, I just learned how to take it like a bitch, so...
I killed 2 people.
He did.
Oh, we have to fucking run towards the bridge where the
Wait,
green
really?
marker is.
We're probably fucked, honestly.
Oh god.
Oh, shit!
Well, if only vaulting was
Oh,
a
no,
thing.
we're good.
I mean,
One sec,
I mean,
gotta run on
Andar's
the side of
good.
the building.
Why
gotta
don't
run
you
through this house.
through the building? At least
This
the
worked.
doors are open. I was waiting for Fruit's buildings that just disappear, and then he's just like forced to die.
I hate this area.
Why
Fuck
did you
the
run
zone.
through the building? You
Why did you
You-
ran through the building?
I don't know. I figured it'd be faster.
you went
I
through a
keep forgetting that
labyrinth.
you can't. Maybe if we could climb walls somehow.
Yeah, if only we were like Genji and Hanzo, or had a Widowmaker grappling hook.
Or Roadhog.
Yeah, like Roadhog.
Do you think I could gain more health than I lost if I heal up with a medkit?
Don't do it yet.
Not yet. Don't do it. But
How clo-
you can, like, at least when you're like a quarter away. The first zone is really slow.
I mean, this sucks right now. I hate this.
Of course, one of these fucking garages
I
has
saw a
cars.
car and I'm like, oh god, and it's fucking broken.
That would have been nice. Alright, Andrew, I'm gonna make Kid up.
Saving
Okay,
Private Pimswinkle.
Please, if there is a God, let me survive this.
Our god is...
Awesome God, he lives in heaven above. And all my
We're not far from the zone, though. We should be pretty...
No. We
It's
should
only
be
halfway.
alive.
I can see the fucking end of it.
Oh god, it's like fucking miles. That's really loud water, by the way.
What?
What? Look, Andar, if someone shoots us, we're fucked either way. We might as well just keep running.
No, I thought I saw a vehicle, but it's a fucking weird rendering bush.
Fucking hate those bushes. Andar, you should meet our old president. I think you'd really hate him.
Who?
Trump.
Bush.
That's so funny.
My god, I hate this shit. Andar, if I don't make it, tell my family.
You'll
What
make
about
it.
my...
How many bandages do you have?
Tell my kids
5.
I love them in a Christian
No, 2.
voice.
I will drop you 20.
That should probably be enough.
I'm imagining for like dressed as a mummy running into the battlefield.
I mean, I'm basically just...
Back up.
Yeah, give me a second, I'm healing.
You're over here.
Yeah.
You're on my feet.
Thank you,
You're gonna
Andar.
die.
No, yeah, probably, but there's only 40 left.
You're
And
gonna
we're
die a
probably-
horrible death.
Look, we're on like the edge of the zone. No one's here right now. We're probably completely safe.
Everybody's run though.
Oh, you think?
We gotta go.
Already?
Well, we got like a minute before the zone starts pushing in. We'll stop every once in a while so you can bandage up some more.
Maybe we can just run straight then.
Up the mountain.
Yeah, just Skyrim mountain climb. Breath of the Wild.
Doesn't work that well.
Breath of the Wild.
We can kind of go up it, but...
Yeah, shield
not
surf with your
something.
frying pan.
Oof, I actually jumped. It's actually... Never mind. What?
The way that you were doing that was pretty funny. You were just
Yeah,
Oh
sliding.
my
actually-
god.
Yeah,
Holy
it
fuck.
actually works faster and you don't make any sound. You never noticed me doing that?
New meta.
No, holy fuck.
No, it's not. Have you guys never somebody see me do that?
No.
Oh my god.
This looks
is
And
nuts.
this works. This works in like every game.
Okay, well,
Shots left or shots fucking east?
Shots, shots,
take your
shots,
time
shots,
and bandage up here because we're partially close to the
I'm
zone.
hearing shots coming from southwest.
Bandage 2, maybe 3 times.
I mean, that's about how much time we have left. Let's just go. Fuck it. I'm good.
Okay.
2 times. Let's go. So if I jump when I'm going downhill, it's
Don't.
faster.
It's the there's no real fall damage unless you fall like 2 or more stories.
I just thought
You
of something.
get stopped like every time you land.
Imagine like every single time you die in this game, like you make the
You
rust.
die
lost
in
a
real
kidney.
life?
No, you make the rust scream. Imagine how shitty that would be if you're playing in a squad and like you're traveling together. One person gets sniped, and then everybody gets away their position.
That'd be amazing.
That's sort of like in DayZ when Noob's character used to keep freaking out.
God, I remember that. Yours would do it too. It's not to the extent.
Then we had to fucking put you.
The
we were
girl
like,
was so much worse.
No, you're like.
If a zombie got near you, just start screaming. That's a bullshit. No, don't worry.
Well, personally,
I'll think
my
same.
Not
favorite
so,
thing-
but I didn't want to fucking...
That is
my
a
personal
really
favorite
sketchy
thing
bush.
was in DayZ, the zombies that would take falling damage and
Ah,
fuck,
fuck.
that hurt.
Ah, fuck, that hurt. Oh, no, this is not good.
God, I remember that.
And we're fine. And we're
bush.
invincible.
I know!
And
They're
stop shooting.
fucking everywhere.
I heard shots.
I'm gonna get in this little house right here because it's just barely outside the zone. Ah, fuck, that hurts.
And can I recite something I said earlier?
Don't fuck off!
Don't fuck off, okay?
Jim will
Andar,
read
come
the
on.
chat and Steam.
Oh, that?
What was it? Did you see what I said?
Yeah, didn't you see what I said afterwards?
Maybe not. Oh.
Alright,
yeah.
let's
Oh,
relax.
yeah, now I remember.
Good to see I'm walking into a fun
Oh,
night.
cool. We're actually really close to the...
Ando's already fucking angry.
Alright, and we're probably gonna get shot a bunch with guns.
This thing, there could be someone in any one of these bushes. Be careful.
Why can't I roll like in DayZ?
Yeah, I want them at that time.
Because you're clearly playing the Canadian version instead of the American version. You can skate.
Oh man, dude, the weird thing is,
It's like
I'm
curling.
the one.
Oh, by the way, the corn stalks kind of disappear after a little while, or the hay or whatever the fuck it is.
Grass.
So if you're looking at
wheat,
down the distance and you see this little speck crawling around on the field, yeah, it's kind of obvious.
oh, it's entirely pointless to do that then.
I mean, if the zone's really close in, then yeah, I mean it's not bad.
Close range, it's not bad.
I can hear people shooting. Okay,
In fact,
do bushes disappear?
No,
Okay, so if I hide in this bush, they can't see me.
pretty much.
yes. Yeah, I mean, it turns into a pixel, but still.
I'm fucking invincible. Alright, Andrew, here's my idea. We just hide in these bushes.
Oh, I
And then
gotta
we-
get into a better spot because I'm not quite in the zone.
I'll throw down a smoke flash.
Ah!
Alright?
Seriously, how you do another bush? He probably saw you fucking go at that one, you idiot.
Where'd he shoot from?
Where else am I gonna fucking hide?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I have any better ideas. I'm saying that.
Andrew, don't lead him towards me. Fuck.
Man, I don't fucking know.
You want to go towards the houses?
Sure. It's probably
You
fucking
can see fucking
suicide.
Andar panicking.
I don't know what to do. A fucking shot lands within a couple feet of me. Of course I'm gonna fucking, like, freak. I don't know
Oh shit, shots right side.
Climb the tree.
And left side. Maybe they're shooting at each other. We don't know.
Yeah, just one guy just fucking misses the house entirely.
Yeah,
Just happens
I mean,
to
it's
land.
possible.
And we might want to get. Oh my fucking god. Oh, I see a guy. And there's a guy. 120. He's running down the road. You can't see him anymore, but he was there. Jesus Christ. What is happening?
You're dying.
So, Andar, how's your day been?
Pretty bushy.
Andar, do
Bushy.
you like it full bush?
Vehicle right
Oh.
fucking beside us.
I was fucking waiting for both of you guys to
Oh god, this sucks. Okay, so don't go towards the houses, I guess. So if we just wait here, you think we'll live?
Probably
I
not.
don't know.
You can hear like the desperate people. Oh fuck life.
They're car from the same area.
That's a fairly
Yeah,
small
oh, that's getting
circle
like
just
closer.
for 30 people.
That's what I was kind of scared about. Wow, I don't know if they're grouped up. Oh, they're not. It's four of them
No.
there. You're about to hear some fucking fighting. Oh, there we go.
Well, Andar, let's just sit back and wait then. I think we all know how this is gonna end.
Nothing like some good gang on gang violence.
Ass-tastic.
But the problem is, as soon as I fucking engage someone, I'm just gonna get
This
lit up
person-
by- Where?
Don't you have a silencer or a flash hider you can use?
No.
For you to be more specific, where you said there's a person, you're in a fucking field full of bushes.
Yeah, all the people are bushes.
And everything is moving, so my eyes aren't quite. They're fucking jumping around to everything.
This is terrifying.
We got a minute before we have to move.
I know. If we just keep moving through these bushes, you think they'll see us?
Yes.
This is some fucking Assassin's Creed type shit. I didn't know Battlegrounds was a fucking stealth-based shooter.
Yeah, it really is.
Assassin's Creed isn't a stealth game, though.
Used to be.
No, it never was. It was a platforming game where you could also stab people sometimes.
I'd
Oh,
say
so it's
start
like
leaving now, you got 30
Banjo-Kazooie.
seconds.
It's Super Mario.
Super Mario. Oh.
I
RPG.
think we kind of have to push up to that house, and we gotta kind of start moving now.
Andar, what
I
do you
would
think
say-
I've been doing?
Shitting yourself in a bush.
He's gonna
if they
die.
look, if they can't see me through the bush, I'm so fucked.
Oh!
Oh, I jumped! I fucking jumped!
I jumped when I heard it.
I just fucking jumped.
Andar, it's been good knowing you.
Godspeed, he made a different son of a bitch.
Andar, you going first?
I have an SKS!
Fuck you, okay. Andar, it's been a pleasure serving with you, sort of. I'm not
Sort
a fan all the time.
That was the house, don't worry.
That was
I know,
the house,
but it
don't
was
worry.
outside the house.
There's people in the house, Andar.
I know
Really?
there's people in the house.
Oh, you just
Jokes.
fucked yourselves.
Oh,
What?
I thought I had a grenade.
And our help.
Pin.
And our help.
So Andar, just don't. Oh god, you have to push it.
You're fine, Andar.
Fuck, you're kidding me, right?
Quick, hide in
So-
that bush.
There's someone in the house to the right, by the way, that saw me and heard me and killed me. I hear fucking dorks, but I don't see
I'm
dorks.
gonna shot in the fucking ass with this note.
What says just throw the pan?
Andar, just go in there, run in.
I tried,
full auto.
didn't you see?
No, the house to the right. Just go in full auto. Just rush. Oh my god. Okay, there's 2 people.
Oh, if only you had a grenade.
I know.
I mean, in theory, they can't come out and get you.
There's 3 of them.
Well, like, you know. Should have thrown that smoke grenade I had. That would have actually probably helped.
I wonder if they definitely saw where I am, right?
Oh, you did.
No, they definitely fucking saw you. They also probably heard you. And smelled you.
Tasted you.
I'm listening right now, so.
He's trying to bait me.
What was that?
Sniper rifle.
I guess you're exact. Oh, they're coming from the back room.
Yep. Backside. They're coming from logs.
I move a little bit, yeah.
If you just wait it out, the zone will get them. They'll have to run out eventually. Left side. Left side.
Left. No, this. Oh, fuck.
It was left and then he went right, okay? Yeah, okay.
Zone.
Zone's gonna fuck him up. Okay, just watch. Wait, can't you just camp the door? Behind you, behind
Are
you!
you fucking kidding me? How the fuck did he kill me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, your pan just saved his, almost saved his life. Oh my god, there's so much chaos going on.
I was fucking
Like,
with these
as he
guys,
just
but-
crawls
But
away.
I don't understand how the fuck that guy got the kill on me. I dumped like fucking 20 rounds into a point blank. Like,
Was it what vest was he wearing? Because it looked like only level 2.
I don't know.
Andor was
Look,
using rubber
Andor.
bullets.
We did really. No,
Andor was
we
firing
did really
bullets.
good.
What do you mean
We
quit
killed,
sucking? I got fucking decimated early into that game. I had nothing to do with
Yeah,
that.
You got nothing by
Technically, you got annihilated.
Noob got
That's
fucking
amazing.
destroyed.
I was an
Um,
unarmed civilian. I got
did
ran
me.
down by a
By,
fucking motorcyclist.
by definition, you got annihilated.
I mean,
That's
Noob, you
you.
should have stuck with the group.
The
Lesson of the
estimated
day.
is 10% of your forces are lost, and you lost 100%.
You are dead.
boy.
Oh, I actually got a shit ton for killing all those
Thanks for the
AFKs.
host build. I love you.
You actually have some rando watching?
Oh, really?
Yeah, belts.
No, it's the same people every time.
Yeah, the same people. Welcome to my stream. It's awful. As proved by that quote.
Also, I found out apparently Ganondorf Amiibo does give you stuff in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, but it doesn't give you an armor set.
So,
Armor is what makes the fucking amiibos worth it in Breath of the Wild, man.
I mean,
love it.
what really sucks, the fact that I have to wear that blue outfit that you get for Link is like really actually good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it
like
tells you how
the
tough
best
it is.
armor.
Yeah, it sucks because it doesn't match with anything
Yeah,
else
it's
except the
not-
fucking outfit. And you can't wear a helmet unless you buy the fucking earrings from the Gerudo people.
Which I have all of them.
Wow, dude, that's really hard to do.
I like it whenever you say the Gerudo people.
What, do you want me to just say, the women?
I mean, not like that. I
Those
mean, like,
goddamn women.
you could just say
fucking
the
selling
Gerudos.
earrings.
I mean, Jamal, you know how you cover your face in shoe polish to look like a Gerudo?
Fucking...
That's a Goron, you idiot.
Jamal painted a paint black to make himself a Goron mask.
Ah.
This is the part of the stream where fucking Twitch admins hunt me down, swat me because my friends are racists.
I'm okay with that because I live with you, Mark.
Oh my god. So where are we dropping off? Ruins. Let's go ruins.
I want you to shove your ass up my face. Terry 2017.
Actually, we could go to ruins.
No, hospital.
Oh my
That's
god.
way too far.
No, we can make it.
Okay, bail. 3, 2, 1, now.
What if you get burped while you're skydiving?
Wait,
You
what?
really can't. Well, you could, but it wouldn't really work as well as you're thinking.
Okay, we're probably gonna have to pop our parachutes early, like now. Okay, pop shoots.
You think so?
Oh, so that's
Yes.
what it does when you pop it early.
Yeah, and tap
guys
W.
You guys always told me never to do that.
Cause it's fucking bad.
I mean, if we're going straight down, you don't want to do that. But like, if you're doing something stupid, like going halfway across the fucking map at the start.
Guys, there's other people over there. Watch out.
I was gonna say, maybe we should go to the container yard as I see no less than 10 fucking parachutes over there.
Someone gets a car, snipes someone else down.
There's actually someone landing right now on the fucking Mario Kart map.
What?
There's actually 4
Crates. Look at the crates. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Well,
there's like
I get what Fruit talking about. The fucking the
block
fucking-
forts.
Yeah, block forts.
The
yeah.
best Mario Kart map ever.
I wouldn't go that far because the pipes map was pretty good in Double Dash.
Oh, and Double Dash. Oh fuck yeah, my man.
When are they remaking Double Dash?
Dude,
Never.
the Switch should be a perfect fucking console for the goddamn Double Dash.
I mean,
You
I
sure
actually...
Yeah, I mean, you have
I
the
actually
controllers
talked-
that are small enough you could shove up your butt.
Also,
I
look
will-
at the zone. We're like
Wow.
right in the middle.
That's actually pretty good.
But I don't know,
Okay,
man.
let's
that's-
hold down the fucking
Jamal,
hospital then.
that's why you turn on the fucking HD rec.
Oh, you son of a bitch, you actually got on the fucking roof?
I don't know.
Oh,
why
you son of a bitch, you got on the fucking roof?
This gonna sound stupid. Why doesn't Nintendo have fucking GameCube games on the Virtual Console?
They will probably, hopefully soon.
I do
That's
like
been
Double
saying
Dash,
for
but
5 years,
Double Dash would have been a lot better if you played online. Like if it was for Mario Kart. Like,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
fucking
so
how-
if it was
yeah.
on the Switch and remade in HD...
Again, it's perfect for the Switch. You know why? Because oh guys, I know I'm bored.
It comes with 2 fucking controllers.
No, it's you fucking play it in mobile mode, and you still only have one screen to deal with. You have to do a split screen.
what?
I mean... What?
Two people playing on the fucking Switch equals people. No, you guys fucking don't get it.
Do you
don't
mean
get
with
my
the
magic.
TV and then the controller?
No, I'm saying.
Because I was about to
you
say,
fucking bring it to
the
your friend's
thing
house.
is the
You
controller.
bring it to your friend's house and you fucking shove it up their ass and you go, hey, here, let's play. And you put it down the Nintendo.
I don't
because they're so
want
poor, they-
to do that. I don't
Because
want to
they're-
shove
because
the
they're- because
remote
they're-
up my friend's
because
ass.
they're so fucking poor that they don't have a TV. And their mom's fucking trying their best. And so fucking they move on and you can both play the
Where are
Switch.
you going with this?
I don't
I
know.
think
I
it's
think Noob's having a
Too
seizure.
long. Seizure.
Can
Out
we-
of everything, out of
Because they
everything
never
you could have
did.
fucking
Never
said, a
did.
goddamn seizure.
I got an 8-time scope on a star.
Anyway, that's to end all it off. Two
I
people
got
playing
an
Double
8-time
Dash.
scope on a star.
I hate you so much. I hope you burn.
What?
Oh, no.
I don't know where this conversation's going anymore.
Okay, so are you saying because you're both in the same cart, you don't need double screen?
Yes.
Because you never did in the first place. That's not really how Double Dash played, but...
Exactly, but what I'm saying is that it's good because you play Mario Kart with 2 people or more on a fucking small tiny screen. It's kind of a pain in the ass. It still works, but it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Dude, I used
I
to
like
fucking
playing-
play Mario Kart on like the shittiest tiny fucking controller the TV.
I
had.
love Mario Kart double penetration.
Well, it says where the fuck are my Switch
Who
dildo
was
peripherals?
that?
That was me. I was fucking Jamal.
I really
You were
don't
fucking
understand
me? What?
Yes.
I don't want you to fuck me.
But anyways, like, I was talking to the
Jamal said that.
Nintendo rep, and he's like, yeah, I don't think Nintendo should remake those games. They should just look into the future.
I was talking to
It's like,
Moyamoto
fuck
myself, and I was like, hey, remake Glover on Switch, please.
I think the
you
exact...
want it, I will make it on Switch. And then it comes with, fucking, no. Joy-Cons that look like Glover's asshole.
New?
And there, so you hit a button and it goes, ha!
I got a 4-time scope for... Should I put it on the AK or the M16?
Does anybody
Whatever you
have
want.
any 5.56?
I have some buttons here.
Yeah, I got 150.
I have an M416. I should know. Yeah, M416. I will trade you an 8-time scope.
I have an 8-time scope.
Fuck yourself.
Alright,
Jamal, I'll trade you.
We'll
You-
put
you
AK
use
in
ammo?
full auto.
Here, how much
and
you
then
need?
All of it?
16.
I have 79 that I need. I need 7. So here, how much do you need? I'll give you like.
Give me
I
60.
know fucking. Okay, I guess it's a trade. Fuck it.
Calm down, Kif from fucking.
I only have
Futurama.
I only have 59 rounds remaining, but I guess it's okay.
Honestly, you know what? Fucking AK. I don't need an AK. Fuck you.
What?
Would you say you have 59 rounds remaining?
Yes, that's including the fucking magazine I have already in there. I have 19 rounds remaining and fucking and my fucking like as like a backup.
Okay.
Oops.
I don't
ammo,
see
cool.
the problem here.
Oh, fine, level 3 helmet, cool.
So I got a silenced 4 times fucking scoped M4816.
Oh, you got silenced? I have an 8 times. Oh, you got an 8 times too.
Sorry. I can, if you come over here, I can give it to
Ooh,
you.
hand.
Yes, that I'm.
Aaron, jump
coming
off the
over.
fucking building.
I'm fucking coming.
Sorry, I'm playing Battlegrounds, but I have a silencer.
Where the fuck did you go?
Oh, I dropped down fucking.
Gilbert wants
way
to know
too
what the
far.
fuck he came back to, because apparently he came back to the quote of, I was fucking Jamal. And then was put in, you were fucking me? I don't want you to fuck me.
You see.
Alright, Andar. Do I really want to head out? I really don't, actually. Fuck.
First leaves on the ground. Here, Dan, it's over here in this one, it's one of these houses.
I found a scar.
To be fair, having a fucking silencer is a good way to convince you guys to come over.
The pan is the most versatile weapon. That is true.
I mean, it is versatile.
It's the
but it blocks fucking
humiliation
bullets.
weapon in this game. Oh, cool.
It's
my
really
friend
not,
has it.
though, because it
2-hit
does
kill.
damage.
It's fucking retarded.
Spring!
Spang.
Ooh, I got a
Oh,
cheat
good.
pad for an SR.
This sniper.
Sniper rifle?
No, it's an SR, it says, dummy.
Butts
know,
is on
SR
fire tonight. Dude, butt spot is the best chatter.
Yeah, but
Do the butt spot thing.
So, if I just
Spot.
dump some rounds in general areas, is that okay with you guys? Cause I have 300 rounds for my fucking ump. I just gotta waste some of them.
I like how
Yeah, fuck
fast
it,
you
I'll
pull
wait
the
this
pistol out now. It's great.
I love playing Fallout 4, the game, in multiplayer.
What?
This is
I
basically
don't know
just
what the
Fallout.
fuck he's talking about. This is not Fallout 4.
God
This is
damn.
more or less just Fallout 4.
Dude, this game is just like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Hey, did you know Donald Trump looks just like an owl?
Dude, this is fucking Cooking Mama.
So he came in fucking
Shut
full
up,
circle.
shut up, shut the fuck up. 1 second.
You dropping that suppressive for me?
Oh, that was Andar. Holy fucking Christ. Okay, here you go, I dropped it. It's next to the pants.
It's his brown pants.
I thought Andar was...
Does anyone need a first aid kit?
I've
Yeah.
got one.
Why can't I put this yeah, sure.
Level 2 helmet in the bathroom up here.
Shit,
Oh,
sorry.
Oh.
I was testing out the revolver.
Yep, makes everyone shit their pants still. Look at that.
I silenced it, so you can't tell it's a revolver.
100% chance to clench teammates' assholes.
Yeah, I did not actually hear that shot. I just heard the fucking window break.
Exactly.
And then
This game is just Skyrim with guns.
Okay, I heard that shot.
You heard that shot? How's he doing?
Who's shooting? Seriously.
Fruit is. You
Fruit, I'm
just
gonna
gonna waste.
Put a round between your
7.62?
fucking head.
Wait, what?
You're gonna waste the 7.62?
Wait, does roller use 7.62?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, fuck?
How much 7.62 do you have?
None
I
now.
only have 76.
Oh, do you want to drop like 30 or 40 for me?
How do I split a stack?
Hold control.
Um,
All I
32.
want for Christmas
I'll
is a
trade you.
car.
oh,
I'll give you
yours,
some
man.
556 for you.
Ooh, that's what I actually need.
Okay, there we go.
Hey,
Good
Jamal, if
trade.
you need more 556, I have 190.
I'll
To
take
be
it.
fair, I won't be sniping with this thing anymore, but it's nice to have.
Well,
Alright, I'll
I'm
take
sniping
it.
with this thing because this is gonna be fucking great.
And I guess you
Thank
need
you.
some more fucking
Yeah, no problem, man.
SM60.
You can actually do it, so I figured I'd give it to you.
What'd you give him?
Silencer for his fucking thing. I get-
Silencer for the AR or the
Oh, okay.
yeah for the AR plus. I found an 8 times scope.
So he's basically.
So I got basically a fully decked out M416
What happens when
minus compensator.
What happens when a fucking guy comes at you with a shotgun?
Okay, I'm behind you, dude. Well, I have a full auto in 416.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh shit!
Do you want to stop doing that?
It's fine.
Because one day I'm gonna like decide to sidestep, and I'm gonna get fucking dinked.
He fucked Dink. He fucked Dink.
You stink
Okay,
on my
I suggest finding a spot and camping because
Yeah,
we're
let's say,
in the middle of the zone. And it's
Why do
just
we
gonna
camp
keep
the
getting
bridge?
killed. I can.
I'm having flashbacks of getting.
Well, if you guys want to fucking
Run
cover
over.
my back, I can fucking camp the bridge.
Let's get on the fucking roof.
I'm actually gonna make my way over to you guys because I'm really far away from you guys.
Why'd you say goddamn it, Fruit? Jamal, where the fuck are you?
I thought they were getting separate houses.
No, we might as well just be in the same one. Why would we split up? It's
Well,
stupid.
I want a sniper rifle.
What?
I want a sniper rifle. I want to find a sniper rifle.
Good luck.
I'm only good with sniper rifles.
Debatable.
Everything else I'm garbage with. Here's the thing.
Debatable.
I have a higher chance of a more accurate shot than me not spaghettiing everywhere when someone fucking rushes me.
I know what you can do, noob. There is a secret.
I had a good shot today, and I'm proud of it. Even though I didn't kill the guy, I still is knocked him down.
I mean, I had that good shot when I got that fucking Magnum sniper rifle.
I kindly asked Andar as the guy was sitting there, hey, can I shoot someone? He's like, sure. Boom, down. Okay, thank you.
I like the finesse of the sniper rifle. It's a
someone's near us.
gun.
Wait, and are you? Someone's fucking coming in one of my building, I think.
Which direction?
Fucking, he's opened the door south. I think he's in my building right now.
Dude, you went to the other fucking building, you idiot!
I can't see that over there.
It's
You
fine,
get
it's
up to
fine.
the fucking roof.
Yeah, there is somebody out there.
He's
Somebody out there.
behind the building now, and he's going towards you, I think.
I can't. I'm on the bridge.
Okay, I'll tell you if you
He
can.
went into one of the buildings.
He's in the Andar. He's in the building opposite of me.
The blue top.
You see the one I'm fucking
Yeah.
facing right now, dude? You can see where my arrow's pointing.
One of the Neapolitan buildings.
I'm looking at fucking 4 of them.
Noob, why didn't? Okay,
There's two
Andar, you see
people.
the one
There's actually
it would
two
be to your
people.
left.
There's
It
another
would
guy
be to your
coming
left.
towards one of your buildings.
They're all to my left.
Mark it, you idiot.
Jamal, you got directions?
I
Oh my
mean,
God.
other than he's in the building like right next to you guys.
He was in this
Okay.
one.
Okay.
This is where I
fucking-
can hide.
Okay, I can see that building from
Yeah.
here.
I'm sitting there. I'm like, someone
Maybe he
fucking
might
mark
be
it.
in your building actually.
I'm not too sure if he is or not. I am going to, on the other hand, cry.
I know he's not in the building Fruit's in.
I mean, noob, you might want to get up to the roof then, so I can give you.
I'm
fucking
trying.
back. You're not trying very hard then, because
I'm moving
you
to
Shit,
the
I found a
gas
vector. I
station.
want to use it.
Oh my god, noob. Have fun if you
I
get
mean, in
killed.
close quarters, a vector is the only thing I fucking need.
I mean, a shotgun's better, but hey.
No, it's not.
Fuck. I ditch some of that.
I have all these fucking, oh man, I have all these things for Vector. I'll just drop them though.
I don't see any movement in the house. So.
Maybe keep an eye on the other house over
Fuck
there.
me. Fuck this.
The guy in it.
That you were keeping an eye on it.
Oh, I guess not.
Why do I have so many bandages? Fuck all those.
For you drive me a drink.
I mean, well, noob, looks like you're fucked then. It's really unfortunate. Someone were to shoot a window right now.
You shoot my window. I shoot
Shoot.
your head. Where is he? I wanna fucking kill him.
Oh shit,
Oh, look,
there's
you
an
got the
SKS
roof.
right
You
here.
might want to shut the door, by the way.
Hey, fuck that, I'm taking this. Fuck. Get rid of that. Take this.
Congratulations, noob. You're relatively safer now than you were before.
So if I see a vehicle full of people, I should just ignore it, right?
no,
I mean-
No one's gonna be able to fucking cover me.
I mean, I can. Oh, wait, they come out of the second building. He's running towards our building now.
third building.
There's one person. Oh,
There's a
fucking-
rock in my way. I can't see.
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. No, he's in between our buildings. For
In between ours.
he was. He probably walked away now.
Which side? Oh, I see him. Should I take some shots?
Where is he going? I see
He's
him.
in,
Yeah.
he's in the opposite building from me. I see where I'm pointing.
Yeah, I saw him. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm taking a shot.
Nice.
He's almost dead. I hit him twice.
Shit. Fuck it. It was in fucking burst fire. I fucked up. Sorry, noob.
You're fine. You're fine.
And dude, do you still got that 8 times?
Yep.
You using it?
Oh, fuck, I'm hit.
Noob, just get down. He
Oh,
can't
cool.
shoot you from where he would be.
I could
I
take
see
it
him
by
now.
force now.
Hit him again.
Where is he at?
He's in the building I'm facing. Here, I'll
see, I
shoot
see.
at it.
Fucking goddamn it.
Where
Hey,
is it?
Andor, how's
Dude,
camping
heal
that
up.
bridge going?
I did.
Worrying. No one has to move across the bridge, so no one's doing it.
We should have all just gotten in the same building, dude. He left the house, by the way.
One person at the blue top house, fucking 240.
Are you at the, you mean the gas station?
Well,
No, it's a.
oh, they're smoking.
Smoking's bad for you.
Oh, there's apparently they're flashing each other now. What's happening?
No, they're on teams. Same team.
I'm running to that concrete tower building.
I don't think that's the same
Shots
team.
fires to the south.
Yeah, they're.
Yeah, I know. They're shooting at me.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. I got someone across the bridge. 2 people across the bridge, and they're running away.
Dude, we should have just gotten in the same house.
One player south by the buildings.
Yeah, I know. He's the one that we can fight.
Throw a grenade. Throw a grenade, Bert.
I don't have a grenade.
He threw a grenade.
I don't know why they think flashbang is going to look at me. You see him?
I knocked Theory, threw a grenade down. He's at your fucking the front of your building.
So is he in my building?
He's knocked down. So.
No, there isn't an RPG in this game.
Can I shoot him?
I just shot at them.
Wait, the guy?
Jamal was like looking at them. They're outside. They're by the main road.
I thought you were talking about on the bridge. Yeah, there's a guy like kind of on the main
They're
road. He's by the building.
somewhere by yellow.
Ah, fuck. Andor, you may not realize
I
this.
shot them twice. I saw them both.
You don't realize this, but I'm colorblind.
Ah,
I saw him again.
Oh, I'm being shot.
I'm not coming towards you.
Where the fuck are they shooting me from?
On the ground.
Wait. You're right.
I can't tell if he's prone or knocked out.
No, he's
He's
not
knocked
dead.
out. I just killed him.
Oh, thanks. Oh,
I basically just watched him
killed-
fucking explode like
Huh.
roadkill on a
Did
hot
you-
summer
did-
day.
did you
I got an
credit for that?
assist. I got an assist
cool.
for it.
Are
Very
we
cool.
safe? Am I safe?
Oh
No,
god,
there's still
noob, you
2
scared
more.
the
Right
shit
where that
out
guy
of me.
died, there's... Oh,
If I jump off, will I survive?
you lucky motherfucker.
Me?
Oh fuck.
He's in the house, 2nd floor.
Me?
One of the beige buildings with the blue roof. Where I don't think there's any roof access. I shot the guy, I hit him in the fucking head.
If I jump, will I survive? Yes, no.
No.
Uh,
You'd probably
yes.
take a lot of damage.
You should be fine, but they might shoot you on the way down. So.
Ah.
Shit, I'm getting shot at.
That's
I
not
just
why.
shot at him, so he backed the fuck off.
Yeah, I have no idea where the fuck I was getting shot at from. It felt like close.
He's in the building I can
Fuck it,
find
I'm
no
jumping,
fucking
I don't
direct
give a
line of
shit.
sight. I think it's this right here.
I did like no damage. You guys are you were full of shit, Jamal.
I told you.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
It's the closest building to the road.
Where's
I'm
that?
smashing the windows out. Oh, he just fucked.
All right.
Wait, to the right or left of the road?
Also, noob, don't leave the door.
He's on your side of the road.
Noob, I just did.
Oh, fruit's above me. Okay, that was freaking me out for a second.
No, let's
I'd
keep
say
the
I'd
door.
shoot at the building, but
You're fine.
hard
You're
to
fine.
tell. He was by one of the
mark it?
balconies. I think I marked it, but I'm not sure.
The yellow one.
I think it's yellow.
Shots 240.
As in the era of choice. We're stuck here in the middle when the war is happening.
Cars coming down the bridge.
Oh shit, he's
Stupid.
fucking drifting.
Hit a guy. It's coming right for you, Andor. And are you good?
Yeah, I caught one.
Good job.
Dude, that guy fucking came in Tokyo Drift style.
He's dead. He's dead, noob. He's dead.
Shoot the fucking
Stop
bridge.
it! Stop it! He's already
I'm shooting
dead.
at the people who were going on the bridge.
All right, keep an eye on the road.
Hit.
Oh, left
Fucking-
side.
Jamal coming in.
Alright, you scared the shit out of me.
Hey, what's up? Hey, buddo.
Where?
He was shot for.
I saw another vehicle south.
Yep, I see it. It's a buggy. Well, that means there's only 2 people, right? Never mind. Oh, they're getting out. They're going towards the I think this area, green. That was me.
Ooh, he just hit me.
I shot at a bush.
John, be honest.
Another car coming. Another car
one.
coming. It's a Jeep. Shut up. It's a Jeep. Jeep is driving around the coast, Andor. Watch out.
Oh, I'm lying down on the bridge, so.
I think it's coming through the bridge right now. Or they're driving to my building.
Oh no.
What do you mean by oh no?
Because we're all in the same building
no.
for.
Except
Well,
for
then
Andor.
why aren't we all?
You know, I was
why
in
aren't we
this
all in the
building
same
before. It was
room?
fucking cool.
Yeah, no, it's fucking.
Now I'm
crowded.
stuck.
Why aren't we all in the same room exactly?
I see
Jeeps.
sound shots.
There's someone on the hill. Someone on the hill, exactly 240. It looks okay. Yeah, he's. Andor, never mind. He just got shot. Someone else killed him.
I have 5 first aid
do you
kits.
have an SKS?
Yeah, I found it.
Shit, take this.
Thank you, Daddy.
You should tell me a while ago.
I asked you.
You should say what you said about if you guys still had it. So, and then you said you were taking it by force. You didn't say what you had.
I said, oh, an SKS. I'm taking that shit. And I said,
I knew
Nude,
that.
do you still have that 8 times? And you go, yeah.
Do you have anything that is on, do you have anything that isn't red dot or no?
All I have is a red dot, and I'm using.
We gotta get moving. By the way, the zone.
Shit.
In like a minute, we're gonna
Oh
have
shit,
to haul
we have
ass
to
across.
haul ass across the bridge.
Yeah, you want us to start doing that?
Start going now. I'll try and cover you guys.
I'm gonna warn you. I saw a lot of people get shot earlier, and there was like 4 people in trucks. I hate being last, man. Fuck this.
Oh, people fucking the fucking blue
By the
house.
apartment building, blue house.
Yeah, blue house. The one they're doing right
To be fair, they're just as trapped as we will be.
Grab some of the shit here. The guy might have something for a sniper rifle in this kit.
Fuck, hold on. I'm coming back.
Okay,
It's a VSS. That's why I'm being,
I think it might have been a cheek pad or something.
I'm taking the VSS. Fuck this.
Oh, you got a Twitch Prime thing.
Alright, that's like all
fuck
that
it,
was
I'm
worth
leaving.
taking.
Good luck, fuckers.
I'm running to the tents. And then
I
I'll
got 2
cover you
frag
guys from there.
grenades.
Okay, good. You picked those up. I have one. I picked up one of them.
Yeah. I didn't have any grenades, so it's nice to have something.
Run,
of those.
motherfuckers.
Also,
Run, bitch.
is the SKS a sniper rifle technically?
Yes.
Yes.
Who wants a cheek pad for it?
I'll take it.
Okay, that's.
Drop
Yeah,
it.
people behind us on the bridge, coming down the bridge right now. He's crossing on the left side. He is left.
Well, they have to in theory, don't they?
Oh,
I'm missing
one's
a
on the
guy.
right side. Unless there was a second guy.
No, I was looking behind me, so.
Oh, okay.
I've only had a suppressor.
It was right head. Sorry.
Special
Don't worry,
movement.
I do. So I'm laying here. You guys let's go past me.
I'm
I
making
got
this.
something to do, so I'll keep with you.
Look, at some point we know for a fact people are going to start coming or they're going to start dying. So,
Vehicle.
car.
God, fuck Microsoft, god damn it.
Fuck it.
I got a kill, headshot.
He's dead too, so that's the only one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wait, are they dead?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's one guy, and you killed him.
Oh, I killed him. Shit.
I was ready to light the fucking car too, shit.
I'm just gonna hold here.
Can I go loot him real fast?
No, you're not gonna make it.
Don't.
Think
It's
so?
not worth it in any
You're right.
way.
You're right.
What do you need? What exactly do you need?
Wait,
Nothing.
I'm
Just
being a
go.
fucking prick. I'm shooting the tires out.
Is it really necessary at this point?
I was gonna suggest doing that just in case.
You never know.
Okay, it's at the bridge, right? Okay, run, go.
Who's gonna fucking take a car at this stage of the game?
People that are trying to run
Somebody's
across the
desperate.
bridge.
If I was fucked on the bridge and there was a vehicle, I'd take it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna either die in the zone or I'm gonna die to someone shooting me. I'd prefer to die to someone shooting me.
Yeah. Oh my
Lots
god,
of
it's
fire
like
coming
fucking
north.
popcorn. Holy shit.
We
Sounds
might
like
want to just get
fireworks.
moving. At this point,
We're
yeah,
in the zone for now. At least group up. Does anyone have any extra 7.62 that they can drop me?
No.
I have
I've only
39.
got
Here you go.
40.
I will trade some.
Here, take
shit.
it. I just dropped it. Take it all.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not using
I'm good
anything.
now. I'm good now.
You got fucking 5.62 by chance?
Not much.
Jamal here,
Do you
for,
need any energy drinks or first aid kits? I'll trade you those.
I don't need that. I got a fucking
where are
painkiller.
you?
What?
Here, take this. I
Nick, I'm gonna get down. Thank you, though.
See, I only have enough for like 2 mags for my AR,
I have 3.
and that's
I
my
have 2
backup.
mags,
So
that's
I'd
why-
like to have a little bit more.
Just switch it
Shots
before.
northeast.
Yeah, I'm trying to scope it. Fucking.
We're in such a bad spot right now.
Actually, we're pretty good because we have the zone to our backs, and we have not much place to run. We don't have to run.
There's a care package in the water over there.
Where?
Yeah.
Like, want to loot it?
South? No, it's like out of the zone.
It's out of the zone.
It's out of the zone, and it's fucking in the middle of the river.
I mean, Andrew got a care package yesterday, like last round.
Yeah, you can loot.
You don't have to look out behind us. I'm sure we're fine.
I'm watching our left side off the bridge.
You
like,
say that. Yeah, you say that.
There are fucking metagamers that just fucking first aid all the time outside of zones.
Well, if you want to watch our back, go right ahead.
No, I just keep glancing back every once in a while. It's fine.
At this point, I don't think they can survive long enough.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there's only so long you can survive in the zone.
Well, I was saying, it says you guys being alive this late is being entertaining.
I mean,
or actually, I think you meant that specifically towards me, actually.
Or just all of us.
I'm usually the one that dies immediately.
We usually don't survive as a group. We might want to get moving soon.
Yeah, we should probably start. We're fine.
Look, if we just sit back, we're not going to see anything happen.
Okay.
The problem is that as soon as we get out of the cover of the bridge, there's so many fucking windows that people could be in. So
well, yeah, we haven't seen anyone so far.
Move, I guess.
Look, we haven't seen
so
anyone.
far is not a word I want to.
I'm going to the building on the left.
How about like this time?
Okay, I'm just gonna jump over the guardrail and just fucking.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just jump over guardrail and just camp. Alright, I heard shot coming from 75. Another shot, another shot.
Oh, hey, this is one of the buildings I got fucked in last time.
You fucked in?
Yeah, I fucked in. This is the building I lost my virginity by force.
Why?
Man, there's fucking 9 apartment buildings.
Yeah, this is a pretty scary place to have the final area be.
Yeah, I never had a zone be like this. Fucking, this is horse shit.
Honestly, we can get on the
player 300.
Wait, really?
I see him, yeah.
Oh, I'm being shot.
Got him. He's
Hey,
There's
someone sniping me from a rooftop around 3:45. Just oh yeah, Noob or Jamal.
Yeah.
This red house right here.
Yeah.
There's a person in it.
The one I'm right in front
on
of.
the roof. Yes, there's a person on the roof. Yeah.
Okay, well I'll cover if he goes through the stairs.
Oh my God, he's trying to shoot me.
Sure, you're not trying to shoot me.
Okay, I finally killed that guy.
Yeah, no, he's trying to shoot you. You on the opposite.
Did you get the guy on the roof?
No, I killed
still...
the guy who died on the
I'm
street.
done. I'm getting shot. I might go. I'm dead.
People fucking 30.
I need help. Fuck.
What are you supposed to do? We don't know what the fuck they are.
Okay, I can give you directions. Okay, how about this? 345.
There's people
75.
at the fucking.
My 345 is this building across the street.
The apartment's right there. There's people outside the fucking place.
Oh shit!
There's some.
You don't want to shoot them?
Oh wait. Okay.
Knocked one down.
You can. Everyone is shooting at me right now. You can literally like. I am making this place light the fuck up.
$17 other fucking people.
Are they throwing frags at me?
16 other people.
Well, I'm dead.
Sorry, Fruit. I can't risk it if you're getting shot.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, I wish you guys could have seen anything from that.
Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. We gotta move the zone.
Oh, fuck.
I'm not sure why they were going on so hard on killing me when that happened. Bye, Andar. No. And our left side, I hear someone.
Yeah, I know, but 70. I'm gonna die outside the fucking zone. Fuck! I thought it was in it.
We should have gotten moving faster.
There's a player like right on the other side of this thing.
I know, but fucking ideal.
Well, okay.
Oh, fuck.
Just go. Find an apartment building and get inside one.
I fired one bullet out of my SKS. One bullet.
Just get inside a fucking building.
You know, I don't give a shit. This next game, I'm going full fucking ham. I'm taking no fucking risks.
Fuck, someone's
in this They're on the roof.
I know.
Oh. Okay, you might want to move the camera a bit so you know.
I fucking am here.
They're here. So much
They're coming.
Shit.
I hear them rushing.
I fired one bullet out of my SKS and that's it.
God, you have the worst fucking camera for this.
Yeah, it's fucking what else are we supposed to do?
Look a little bit down more.
There you go. If they're on the first floor, though, you're fucked.
I don't know if you're gonna have enough clearance to shoot over top of that.
I think.
No. There.
Get ready.
Left side.
There's
Left.
person.
I'm gonna see if they go for the front door. Okay, cool. So.
You got that full auto, right?
Yes.
Click.
Just go. Just go. Just.
What was I supposed to do? Like, really, I opened the door and I thought there'd only be one in there. I hit him 5 times. In my defense,
go around the corner, there's fucking 6 of them.
They all looked at me. I'm like, oh, well, I can't be sneaky about
You
that.
should have pretended to be one of them.
I was trying. I don't think they fell for that.
If you didn't just fucking shoot up one of them, if you just sat there for a while, they probably would have been like, oh, who? Oh.
Hey, Jim's back.
Oh, if only you had a fucking frag grenade, that would have been perfect.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Who the fuck is Slippery Jim?
Everyone keeps saying that.
Who is? Oh, I'm googling this.
You've already done that once.
Do it again.
We don't have any friends named Slippery Jim.
Jamal, this joke's been done before.
Who is Slippery
So, yeah.
Jimmy Fallon?
That was a pretty fucking good match, actually. I
just really want to know who the fucking Slippery Jim is.
I'm glad the only person I killed was a single guy in a car that I just headshot.
Well, it says
it has to be one of our friends who are in common, and there's fucking 22 people.
It's actually Death.
I didn't want to tell you this,
though. I know, but I do. Remember, Jamal?
Oh, can I just tell who has this game?
No. No, you can't.
I mean, I went through my whole Steam list, and fucking there's nobody named Slippery Jim on mine.
Okay, I'm just gonna go through my friends list and see what friends have this game.
Also, Jamal, Death's been copying your quote system.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Chris.
No, Chris is Tigers.
Okay. Oh, I think it's fucking Sam.
Sam?
No, Sam is
Sir Sam of Smeg? Oh, that's a wish list, my bad. Clyde. You guys have Oh, there's fucking Conrad's brother. You guys have him on Steam?
I don't. But I think Jamal does.
Do you have Slippery Jim on your friends
I don't.
list?
Wait, no, that's Conrad himself. Why is his name Slippery Jim, though?
Because he's a fucking idiot. I don't know. Yeah, because there's 7 people who own it has, and you know, 4 of them are us and TinyBot.
Are we playing another, by the way?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, sorry, I didn't ready up.
God damn it!
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't expect that. I was expecting for like one guy to be like watching the back and not fucking everyone to be hiding in the fucking room. I'm like, oh.
There's so much gear. Yeah.
If only you had a shotgun.
Like, what that would have done? That would have wouldn't have done shit.
Auto fucking could have maybe killed him if he had the extended mag.
Yeah.
Maybe. 2 shots per.
Again.
2 extra.
That's implying I didn't spaghetti like I did there.
Ow. I sneezed in my ear pod.
Yeah, don't worry. The fucking game before this, I was point blank on a guy and I somehow fucking killed him.
I'm honestly surprised.
I'll be back.
I've been lasting pretty long. If you know what I'm saying, ladies. Hey, ladies watching Jamal's stream, no one. If you want to meet up with a guy
who can last 30 seconds.
Or less.
Yeah. We're talking like 30 seconds or less. It'll be out and in like before you know it. You won't even know
One
it.
pump chump.
One pump chump's giving it fucking praise.
One pump chump.
Fit of
Hey,
my
Fruit,
life.
you joined the Minutemen, right?
Actually, I joined the
You want to drop in the military base? I mean the power?
No.
Fuck it.
No. Noob, jump on. Now.
We're doing
Well, yes. Or
Now.
yes.
Now.
Where are we going? I'm lost.
Power plant.
Power.
Well, Fert's fucking thing is like upside down. He's somewhere completely different.
Yeah.
I'm going for this factory building.
I landed on the roof like I normally do.
Oh my god, I sneezed so hard. I feel like my eye just
There's
popped
actually
out
not
of
that
its
many
socket.
people going to power plant. You should be excited.
I see it with like 4 people.
What?
I see one.
Yeah, it's me. I actually joined the other team. Actually, there's about 2.
I joined the other
3.
team.
There's actually 3 people. 4. There's
Don't
4
you
people.
dare fucking drop me on. Oh shit! No!
Xandar dead.
No, there's a guy on the roof with
Fuck,
me,
I'm
and it's
landing
basically
on the
gonna be a fight to who can find the fish fucking
I
gun.
landed at Lumber Mill. I'm gonna try and provide you support from far away.
Yeah, looks like I ain't picking anything off this fucking roof. Oh shit, I gotta jump off. He knows I'm up here.
If this dude that was near me landed on the roof, then I'm fucked.
I
got a frag grenade and a dream.
I mean, a frag grenade, if you hold it, you can cook it.
Yeah, I'll kill myself with it.
That one guy
Wow,
did
he
it.
actually left.
Wait, what?
He's not fucking camping. Oh, good. Oh, good.
So what's your guys' favorite fruit pun? Mine's the one about the salty spittoon.
Mine's the one that makes the one that looks like a banana look like a dick.
Mine is the beast that...
I'm the beast
That's
that
the meat?
preps the meat. Not that they're
Oh,
Is that
dead.
the only one you know?
You could sink in your teeth.
That's the only
I'm
one
the
I know.
beast that does the deeds.
I'm the beast!
Yes!
This is the
All
first
right,
time I've
Andar.
ever heard Andar reference a stupid meme that we came up with.
Well, that
You
was
can go
really
through that.
fucking annoying. It was stuck in my head for so fucking long.
It's a really...
He's
Nice.
right to the right!
I have a crowbar! Ah!
Ow.
Oh, you have a fucking crossbow.
Oh, cool. I get an XKS again.
Okay, don't worry.
Alright, I'm heading towards
I think I just punched you twice.
4.
You have a golf club, or...
No,
Oh,
I
say
haven't.
there, thank you.
I'll take the crossbow.
The golf club is actually
Yeah, you
pre-order
can take
only.
the crossbow, and I'll take that fucking pan.
I'll take his
Well,
fucking
you
gimp mask
can
too.
get that.
There's a...
What was it?
Oh, wait, I need none.
I said the golf club is pre-order only.
Oh.
Yeah, because Left 4 Dead did that.
Yeah, and you know what happened?
There's a 1911 over
They
here.
got rid of it because people bitched.
Yeah.
Well, they did the same thing with the Bills hat, and I still didn't get one. I mean, I had many
Whoa!
Bills hats.
Who's fucking shooting? Oh my god, you're fucking bad, kid.
So left in there, the fucking in the building right here.
I killed him. But I have a sliver of fucking health. He
Hey, I
went
found a
down and-
car over here, noob.
Really?
If I grab it, I'd be happy.
I mean, I've
Come on,
got
drive it over.
SKS.
Oh fuck, it's in the window. Fucking. Damn it.
Are you already
He's
dead,
down.
Noob?
I'm down. There's 2 people there.
How the fuck does he know I'm here? Wow, my pan just blocked.
So,
like,
Jamal, I'm
half
coming
his
towards you
fucking
now.
It's probably a good idea.
How the fuck did he know I was there?
Also, Jamal, you might want to look what the zone is. We might want to get moving soon.
Oh shit. Oh, we'll find a vehicle.
Will we?
What are you talking about? In the little thing, it shows how close we are.
Jamal, I
fucked.
want to point out, literally, like,
Yeah.
you just walking
You
dead
have
at
to
me
run
on
halfway across the map.
I'm just walking around what?
So you walking dead at me.
Oh.
You made the character feel happy, followed by them just getting fucking massacred,
Good.
like right afterwards.
Wait, why did you feel happy?
Because he said he had the car for me.
I didn't say I had it for you.
Oh.
He just said he had a car.
I just said I found one. I have an SKS.
Energy drinks makes me regain my stamina, right?
Yes.
I forget how the fuck you get on the roof from this area.
Remember when I said I was going to meet up with you? I changed my mind. Fuck you, you're dead.
I'll be that ramp right there.
Yeah, I really should be getting... I should stop looting at some point here and start running, but...
There's a 4 times over there, Jamal.
Well, there's many times right there.
Okay.
Ooh,
Right now.
VSS!
God damn it. I'm so fucking sick of swapping out assault rifles. I started off with an M16. I have an M416.
Ooh, a car!
It's 400 times better, don't worry. Oh, there's a lot of fucking 5.56 there.
And a lot of 7.62 for my SKS. I have 185 in reserve.
Ooh, the sights on this thing are great.
That's
All right.
pretty cool.
I guess time to get fucking murdered.
Fuck, doesn't take the extended mag instead of quick draw.
If I hold that pistol, do I run faster?
Oh, never mind. That's extended quick draw.
The guy must have fucking third-person gauged me. There's no way.
Also, Jamal, I got a car.
Because he immediately popped popped out, started shooting at me. So.
I'm driving over to you, so we're gonna get moving now. So.
I had a fucking sliver of health. I was so fucked. One bullet, that's all it took.
Jamal, I'd recommend you getting in now because.
Yeah, I'm coming.
The mantles don't even touch moving. You're fine.
I mean, I'd rather not take chances.
You have like 5 minutes to do anything.
At least I didn't have that much good stuff.
It's me, your Uber.
1 star.
All right.
Take us like right on the edge of the zone.
Yep.
Hey, Jamal.
Jamal, you ever watch The Last of Us?
No.
Watch?
You ever play Stalker?
No.
Oh, you're gonna do that bug where you start spinning around indefinitely and then shoot into the fucking black hole?
Anyways, we don't talk about that. I'm not gonna pull an Antar.
I think everyone's kind of fucked up a vehicle at some point.
Yeah, no, you take the cook with the KO god.
Oh!
You're purposely trying to fucking crash on you.
Do not go through the pylons. Oh.
What happens?
Slow. They're like brick walls.
Think I could launch myself?
Hey, Andrew, how fast we going? Goosh.
0. Oh, 0. No,
Hey, Andar, how do you fly this thing?
Press F.
I just realized we have a really bad history of Andar driving vehicles.
Ooh, bad history.
Remember the helicopter in fucking DayZ?
Well, that was a hacker. Because there's no fucking way the engine would just die in one
Andar,
fucking hit from anything, with nothing else getting damaged.
Hey, Fruit.
How do you fly these things?
Fruit, I think we should go on foot from here.
What should we do?
Go on foot from
Hey,
here.
Fruit, you know that you can hit E to hit the honk horn? I mean,
It's F, you dumbass.
F, I'm sorry. I rebound mine, sorry.
You know I was gonna do that, right?
I know.
Thanks.
I rebound mine to E, my bad.
I'm sorry
Sorry,
you two
Andar.
tryhards aren't happy when other
And
people
I
are
already
flying.
said that.
Alright, Jamal, jump out.
No.
Ooh, sorry, we're out of gas.
Oh shit, no more gas. We get shot in the head right now. Dead.
I love that fucking video. Ooh, sorry, no more gas.
I was gonna say, Carmen's a bitch.
What's the red mean on the map?
Why'd you just leave why'd you just leave Jamal?
I don't know.
I wanted to go on
out.
foot.
Drive into the red, right?
Yeah,
Walk
you
in
get double
red
points in that zone.
Yeah.
I'm fucking invincible.
I hope one fucking just drops on the edge.
Yeah, as I was saying, no one has Andar more than Andar when it comes to fucking cars. Like, he fucking drove off the goddamn cliff into the fucking lake.
I hit the brakes before I went off the side, just so you know. I did see it. It's just,
You hear
it's
footsteps?
just I couldn't fucking stop in time. I don't
For
know
all
if
your
I'm
things.
right there.
You have 2 spare rifles. Get off
Oh,
first
fuck.
person.
Why do you have 2 fucking sniper rifles? You can set the VSS to full auto.
I knew it! I fucking knew it! You guys kept talking and then they stopped moving.
Well,
I mean,
Who was it? Oh, it was New who got fucking mad last time.
Fuck. Wait,
that's
Jamal,
what you
you
get for
just,
fucking just abandoning Jamal. But Jamal,
Jamal
he
just jumped out.
you told him to.
No, I said, we're out of gas.
I wanted to go on foot.
You watched, also, Jamal, there's a car
Someone's
outside.
opened the door. Wasn't the only one that heard that, right?
Oh shit, I need to get going. Oh, hey there.
Oh,
Oh shit!
Fucking idiot.
I was gonna say.
You were right.
They're
I did hear a door, just some fucking retard decided to take the retard route.
I like we didn't even hear you stomping around up there.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going
you can take
loud,
the car.
too. No.
I have a car.
Don't take that car. It's smoking.
Take that car.
Shoot the tires out.
Shoots. Yeah.
Don't just take the car, Jamal. Take it.
Boom, dead.
Fucking off to.
You know, there was like three. By the way, there was like three guys that were like in the fucking room when I died. So just watch your ass when you're shooting.
You have a car, dude.
Yeah, they gotta be obsessed in a car now.
Yeah.
You saw him. You saw him.
Beep beep, special delivery.
Where?
Where fruit died. Fucking in the field.
Where?
Yeah,
Right top house.
a little bit to the right. No,
right?
to the right.
More.
To the right.
Left. More.
Somewhere.
More.
Yeah,
There you go.
right there.
He's like, oh shit. Wow.
That went fucking between his legs.
I know.
Whiff.
Fucking just probably grazed his asshole.
That guy must be very happy.
There were two of them, by the way. Fuck you in there.
What?
They just called me an asshole.
You are an
Because he
asshole.
gave him a new asshole.
Oh.
You fucking asshole.
You fucking asshole.
You asshole.
You fucking-
You're bad.
You're bad.
Sorry for the wind.
Well, Jamal, you said you want to do a full hand this game, though.
Yeah, that's what my plan is.
If you had full ham, you would have taken that car. When it's smoking, that means it goes faster, right?
No, if it's red, that means it goes faster.
Huh. This isn't Warhammer. Okay, now go left. Yeah. Go in that house.
I just saw somebody up there.
Nah, you didn't see anyone.
Well, I mean, there's a tree in the way, so.
Boosh.
Only you
There's a
can
smoke
prevent
grenade
forest
there, though.
fires.
What if he's in the smoke grenade waiting?
Fucking
Jamal dies
Smokey
in
the
3
Bear.
seconds.
Tonight, you.
No?
Oh no, Ham Banana's raping me again. I wonder where he's looking.
The fuck is
That
your
almost
problem?
sounded like you just shot in the pan, but
I mean, I have a sickle, so.
I was just thinking that too. Man, if only I had a pan here.
Could a cast iron frying pan actually stop a bullet?
Yeah.
Like an armor-piercing sniper
No.
rifle bullet? Okay.
Like a 9mm or something like that, probably.
Yes.
Like a 50 cal?
No. Yeah, it looks like there's. I thought there was someone in the bush closest to you.
I don't see anyone. Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Go more left. Okay, good.
Fuck that
There's like
shit.
footsteps. It's weird.
Well, they're gonna have to fucking move if there's anyone in there.
I don't think they're still there anymore.
Anyone across the field is just gonna see this thing fucking bobbing up and down.
What the fuck is wrong with his rifle? Why does it do that?
A very loose sling.
Also, why is it clipping into his helmet?
Because game's bad.
Because he doesn't have the tactical stuff.
Jamal, hide in the red zone.
I don't want to set the world on
Hey, it's that game that you never played.
fire. That's not Brutal Legend.
I mean, it's one of the other 5 billion games you haven't played. Well, there's not that many. Is there actually a guy, or...?
I'm just looking.
I saw that dark patch of gray too, don't worry.
You're being paranoid.
Wasn't that
Oh.
barn over there where I got that stupid fucking car shot with the goddamn 2 times that Fruit was like freaking out about? And I just pushed out like a fucking retard.
Why?
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
that person?
That was trash.
Sure it wasn't a helmet?
That was trash.
That's
Okay.
trash.
Weird.
That's you.
You look back
That-
at the guy with a car just staring at you.
Why the fuck does everything look like people in this game?
Oh, I totally expected
Everything's
there
so
to be.
green.
Oh, the explosion killed the door. I totally expected someone to be in there when the door was open.
Hit table noise.
Oh fuck.
I'm trying to
See-
lean backwards like that. Fucking trying
See,
to.
Noob, you can do that to look around corners.
It's called being gay.
Yeah. Yeah, I do it all the time.
I can suck dick if I want. There's a suppressed weapon, by the way.
Yeah, it's 2017. So if you want.
It's the current year. It's the current year, 2017. Wait, go right. I think I saw someone at 2:55. That's a bush.
That's not even 255.
Shut up.
It's not even
Shoot the
255.
bush. Shoot the bush.
I don't want to shoot the bush.
Talk shit.
Shoot
talk
the,
shit.
shoot the bush that says 255. That's actually at 200.
Shut up. It's at like 240. Okay.
You guys are
Come on, I
putting.
better vape.
You guys are putting so much pressure on me. I have to blow my nose. I
I'm
can't
not
be
nervous.
funny.
Oh, crouch and blow your nose.
Oof.
I don't actually have to blow my nose right now.
Wait.
I'm fine
I
for a little
mean,
bit.
I don't. Wait, Jamal, pressure makes you not funny?
Yeah, a lot of things make me not funny.
I thought it was just being alive.
I was gonna say existing makes me not funny.
No, because you're a pretty big joke to the universe.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Keep hearing footsteps when it's you.
What the hell is Super Mega?
And how many more games do you have?
At least one more.
Andrew get
Girlfriend
felt
was
cucked
supposed
after this
to-
game.
Tell me when she's
Honestly, one more game sounds good that I can fucking
leaving
actually.
the concert, and I haven't got a text yet.
Dude, one more game would
So
be
it
so
should be
good.
done at like 10, 10:30, and it's 11 o'clock. So
This has been pretty fucking fun though. This game's fun. Thank you for convincing me to buy it, Jamal and Andar and Noob.
Yeah.
You guys need to take my advice and get video games a little bit more often.
The amount of times you said that.
Wow, looks like this one
What?
got fucking blown the fucking smithereens.
Oh, there's an SKS there.
Yes, right there.
Wait, you can blow up.
Yeah, these ones you can drive through now.
Oh my god.
You can
Green ammo is
destroy
SKS
them.
on that.
Touch it, Jamal. Touch it with your greasy fingers.
I don't want to do that though. Touch it with your shit-covered hands.
Rub
My
your
shit covered
dick.
hams.
Cover with your shit-covered dick.
Oh.
Motherfucking anal dick, yo.
Dick, butt, ass, dick, penis.
Dick penis, man.
Oh, I think I saw a bird.
Where?
We
Cool.
just shot right. You said that.
Just see some guy flying through the air with the car.
He's like, oh shit, you saw me.
Spins around, fucking shoots him back.
Imagine if they had jetpacks this game.
I heard different footsteps. I got scared.
I know.
Jamal, take off your boots. That's the meta.
No, I can't take off my Twitch boats.
Bodes?
Bodes.
And now we play.
What the fuck?
Oh shit!
I hit F by accident.
I fucking hard.
I went to go put my hands back on WASD, but I actually did the ESDF.
ASDF.
Circle kill.
Circle team.
Okay.
If you could please mute your fucking mic, you goddamn string bean.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. It's that person. No, it's a bush. You can eat the bushes.
Okay, I got half an hour, 45 minutes.
So what you're
Wait.
telling me is to make this one quick.
Pulls a grenade up.
Just fucking kill yourself,
The
nerd.
first motherfucker. Oh god, I accidentally pulled the pin.
Cap with her, cap with her.
Hey, open the door, open the door, open the door! He's like, what the fuck are you
Touching a my boat.
I open the door, like 3 seconds later, I see the grenade
Oh
go
my
flying.
God.
Like,
You know, if I really wanted to,
Oh,
I could
yes.
mute Discord for me, but not for the stream, so I can listen to your guys' commentary later, so I can actually fucking focus. But I'm too lazy
So
to do
apparently
that.
Ganondorf on my bow drops a bunch of barrels and a chest on the ground.
Boy, that's fucking exciting.
I mean, the chest has a chance to contain, like
anyone else hear the
Ganondorf's...
shot fired? Like, what the fuck?
It has a chance to contain Ganondorf's sword from Twilight
Shut
Princess. You may have heard of that.
Shots fired coming from the city.
Jamal's being a meanie head.
What are you saying? I'm being a meathead.
I mean, you are a meat fucking head.
Oh, Jesus, it's the opposite fucking side.
Heard you said somebody right by you, a little bit to the left.
Wait, where? Oh shit.
Yeah, I'm running on the hill.
On the hill, on the hill. There's
I
two
know, I
people.
see him, I see
You
him, I see
guys-
him, I see him!
Four guys!
Thanks!
Why didn't you get down first?
It's a ball.
It was
There's
four
somebody
guys.
at the hill. He's literally kicked and banned from the.
That was fast.
I banned him.
Once again, you can't blame it on us. You didn't do
He's
anything.
just been kicked and banned from the click! Oh, shit.
It's funny because I was actually in the process of banning him as he was saying that. I
Jamal
forgot how to
froze
unban
up.
someone.
Jamal fucked up. Jamal fucked up.
He's not banned.
I just unbanned him.
Oh, okay.
Wait, you actually banned him?
Yeah.
Oh. That's me.
I'm trying to remember how the fuck I
That's-
reinvite people.
Just remember, Jamal, I could have been doing my Chris Chan voice the whole time, but I didn't.
Thank you for that, at least.
You're welcome. You owe me money.
You'll be next.
Also, is the Great Dooku tree in this game?
Yes.
He looks like Bill from King of the Hill.
Ding, 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 ding,
Ding
ding,
ding
ding,
ding 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 ding.
Do you know that Bill was voiced by... Do you know that Bill is voiced by Hank of the Hill?
He's voiced by Mike Judge.
Who?
Fuck you. I don't blow my nose again, but I'm not muting my mic 'cause fuck you, I'm mad.
You froze up, Jamal, just like I did. In the end, it gets all of us.
I mean, you're a fucked regardless.
Well, that's
This
because I
one's
had
okay.
3 people screaming at me.
I just said there's 4.
Fucking I have noob going, I fucked it. And he's like, yeah,
I fucking just, I told you 2 times. There's one person in front of you, and then I saw people on the hill, and I acknowledged those people.
Jamal doesn't want to know when people are going to kill him, apparently. Don't tell him next time.
I mean, I just saw them moving as you guys said it, but then fucking, I was thinking about Fruit's fucking Ganondorf from my bows.
Why were you... I'm sure you were when I talked about a Mybo people list. Oh, wow, oh, that's actually pretty cool. They have the fucking dead-ass trees from Link 1 and the fucking, the dead... the tree.
Dead ass.
Why is the Lost Woods all falling?
Have fun.
And at the end of the
What just
day,
happened?
I'm still better than noob because I've gotten a chicken dinner. It just
Okay.
sucks that I had to share my chicken dinner with noob.
Yeah, well, how do you think I feel? I fucking shared 2 of them with fucking 2 other people.
Yeah, but at least I'm not a freeloading cunt.
I had chicken dinner with Andar once. I was there.
Twice.
Yeah, twice, actually.
3
Shit.
times.
You got fucking
I'll-
both of them. Like the first
Wait, let's go.
games you played.
Wait, let's go to
Why do
this
you always
part.
pick, why do you always pick things that are on the fucking way?
Like, go here, go
Because
here, go
I
here.
don't want to drop off at a direct
Where's
location.
here? Green?
No,
No.
blue.
Blue. Where's blue? I don't even know where fucking blue is.
I don't see
Oh,
it.
Jesus. Okay, I see it now. Fuck. Okay. Is that...
Oh, there it is.
High level loot
Wait, where's-
spawns there.
Okay. There's gonna be a lot of people because it's literally on the way.
This is a stupid idea. We're gonna die.
You're a stupid idea.
You might want to look at all the other people on the plane right now.
Oh my god.
There's like 2.
100.
No, there's like 2 spots.
Oh look, they're all jumping out now.
Because they're AFKs.
Welcome to
Well,
fucking.
there's at least 2 squads that are not AFK. Where are we going? We have to meet up.
Straight down.
Where? What fucking building?
You see the big yellow white building?
Big white building. Okay, yes, I see the big white building.
I see the large-ish white building. Is that what you're talking about?
The only fucking square white building.
Okay, yeah, there's actually a lot of people here.
Okay, so I think a lot of people aren't AFK, by the way. I don't want to be that guy that ruins this for you, Jamal, but there's a lot of fucking people.
Oh, fuck, I'm landing on the roof with some...
Yeah, there's quite a bit of people here.
This is a mistake.
Oh, God! I'm getting fucked! Abort! Oh. I have the gun! Someone...
I got the ammo!
Jump off the roof, jump off the roof.
Jump one!
Here!
Palm to the side.
Andor, lead him downstairs. I have an idea.
Oh, shit, pick me up! Oh, my God!
Top 10 anime fights ever.
Oh, shit. A fucking fruit scoop.
Oh, shit!
No, give me that helmet. I'm fucking... Oh, shit.
Okay, fine. You get the helmet. You
I
get
have no
shot.
health. I have no health, so I literally need all the fucking...
You want a hollow sight? I mean, you have a better gun than a revolver, so be happy, I guess.
Andrew, I found you an extended mag.
Oh,
There's
shit.
a person down there, 2 or 150, I guess. I don't know. Fuck you.
I can't remember if done.
He's dead.
I assisted.
There's one more still hiding behind the car somewhere.
2 more actually. One by car, one to the left. Go there and grab.
That was basically
So
fucking Extreme Fight Club.
Oh my
Good
god,
kill.
I have a sliver of health and I'm trying to reload. Oh, there's another guy. He's running towards the,
What direction?
One Direction.
You're down, motherfucker! Oh shit, one guy by the red house at 195. He's really close.
He's not gonna make it.
I think he just went in. I think he's in that red house.
Oh, okay, I got... Okay, hello. Okay.
Where's
You
he?
got
Right
one.
He's in the
Is he
bottom floor of the
downstairs?
building that we landed on. Probably going up the stairs now.
Alright, here's the plan. I fucking shoot him.
Group beam me shield.
And I think I can see him right now.
Well,
I can't, wait. Don't.
I see where he is.
Don't act dumb. Was that him?
yeah, that's him. He's...
Is he wounded?
No,
Dead.
he ain't dead. Okay, watch this. Fucking MLG level strats. You ready?
Yeah.
Fuck.
You just felt his butthole shatter.
Fuck it. Okay, maybe not MLG level strats.
I have a fucking revolver. I can't do shit.
Oh my god, really? There's a guy in that fucking building and I don't know how I missed.
Oh fuck, his helmet.
There's one guy in that building too at 120. It's like that gas station fucking thing. Oh, I see him. Ah, it's fucking...
And I see him.
Upstairs. I'm
He's going up. He's going up to wait in the house that we're in.
I am coming upstairs. Uno me.
Okay, the guy's by the guard tower at between southeast and 150. Oh, he's along the wall. He's in between the 2 guard towers.
I saw him. Yeah.
Tell me if anyone else tries to come in and swat and kill him.
Big fan.
He's really fucking lit. There's the second guy. Yeah. Guy at the red house who just opened the fucking door.
That's
The south, like the closest one to us.
Push pants.
I've gone down.
Nice!
I'm going up to loot them. Where are they?
I'll mark them on the map.
They're still alive. Be careful.
Wait,
there's
there's-
one there.
Where? Which direction?
Yellow. Is that the yellow marker?
Ocean Man.
This-
Yeah.
Gotcha, bitch!
You fucked with the
rock.
Oh shit!
Ah, there's a guy with a shotgun, by the way.
There's a guy with a crossbow in the building behind
Alright.
us.
Well, this is awkward, isn't it? Wow,
Yes,
there's
to
one
the
guy
fucking
picking him up.
north.
Guys,
Just-
there's a guy picking him up.
A fucking arrow just whizzed past my fucking head.
You guys might want to stop them. They're all getting up right now.
Okay, we just fucking.
I knocked one out. Nice, you got him. Good job.
Crossbow hit me. Damn, that thug didn't come. Look at that. Watch out,
Fuck,
surprise.
where is he?
Yeah,
was
you
by the
could
door.
just say.
What?
Is there one in our house?
Just be quiet.
Hey, there's a guy behind you. Oh my god. It's new.
No more door. Fuck you. And do you have any more
Oh, shot him twice. Or once.
you got any more ammo?
I have 13 fucking bullets. That's
Okay,
all I
mean,
have. No!
Oh, you're gonna die. Then I guess can I have your ammo?
Yes. No, apparently not. Okay, there you go. Take it.
Thank you.
Help me out.
Can't do that.
Oh, he's by the same spot. Oh, there's two guys where the gas
Oh, they're
station
fucking
was.
watching you guys like hawks.
I told you.
Can you drop me just a couple bullets? You're a cunt. Can I have
one
one?
second. I had to fucking split it. 1 second. Fucking. Oh no. He got. I dropped down. Alright, we're half and half now.
Thank you. Okay, I got 16 bullets.
Oh, we're so fucked. Well, Andar, it's been a
I
pleasure.
guess there's someone on the
serving
hill.
you.
To your left.
Well, fuck.
Oh, it's been a
Oh, they're
pleasure
in.
serving with the Andar.
Nadar, just go full auto and just.
Cover that door crossing the building.
I am.
I'll cover the stairs.
Oh shit, I'm backing off again.
I don't know what the fuck that was.
I smoked
Oh,
some.
you're really fucked.
And I thought,
They're coming in.
You're
Did you
gonna
drop the bird
die.
Off the roof?
man, if I take any falling damage, I'm fucked.
Yep, they're in.
Knocked one out.
They have no health, so I wouldn't worry.
Ah, I got him!
Oh, I already jumped up the building. Shit.
All right, loot away.
Oh,
First aid
Oh,
kit,
God.
first aid kit, first aid
copy his
kit.
ammo. Ammo. Okay, good.
Another person
No,
coming
shit.
in.
Another person in the building?
Nadar, you might want to turn around. Listen for looting. Oh, she gun's going through there. Oh, fuck. Go! I think he's. Is he outside or Sheila?
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
god damn, Mandar. Me and you were fucking just dropping motherfuckers. Oh shit. At one point, I've gotten 4 kills without a single fucking helmet or anything like that. Or fucking. Okay, you think there's gonna be more people? Andar?
I don't know.
Coming in? I'll be honest, I didn't expect to live this long.
I shot the guy in the fucking feet!
I need some ammo.
Okay, how much ammo? What do you need?
Same thing you need. Oh, you have an AK in there, my fucking M4
Here,
ammo.
here, I dropped 40.
Oh, thank
Dropped
God.
40.
At one point, I killed somebody with the last of my ammo, and he had fucking 5.56. I fucking scrambled to pick it up and kill this friend. I'm like,
Oh.
please.
Yeah, and they're fucking rushing me. I have 12 bullets and I have to kill 2 people. Like,
I am sorry, I'll be honest. I just fucking jumped around.
shit. Thank
jumped
God the
around
guy was
fucking
dumbass and he was standing there with his feet, so I just went pop, 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 and he dropped. I was like, oh my
I'm
God.
not, did we kill anyone? We killed. I'm gonna look at the people over there. I'm actually gonna walk up. I'm not gonna walk up the building because if I keep doing that, I'm gonna die.
Let me just.
We're
I
dead.
wouldn't.
We're dead.
What?
We gotta move.
Oh,
Fucking burn.
shit. Fuck. Okay.
Oh, your guys are fucked.
Why? Red zone?
No, look how
We're
far
literally-
away they are.
We're literally dead.
Unless you guys get lucky, find a fucking shit ton of first aids and then a car.
Well, if you find a car, you might have a chance.
Yeah, if we find it, we gotta.
If you find these nuts.
These nuts.
Well, and
Oh, fuck.
They
Or
got
if there's a
the-
boat.
Are there boats in this game?
Yes,
Yeah.
there's boats.
I've never seen any.
Fuck. I at
Okay,
least
so-
have like health regen on to delay the inevitable, but
Note to self: can't walk through.
oh fuck! I alt tab.
And are you
Okay,
too?
we're good. We're good.
And you guys end your life life right now would be a quick.
I was looking up to the side and I was like, oh, why don't I just check what my inventory is? My fucking black screen. I was like,
Oh, there's no cars.
This Lost Woods place sure is spooky.
Oh, and I have a crossbow bolt sticking out of my hand. I just realized that.
Why the fuck is it?
I don't even have any bandages, so I can't even fucking do anything. You're dead.
Yeah, here, and I'm just gonna. Why didn't you? I was lower health. Okay.
And you are way too eager to do that.
Years of pent-up rage.
That was a car.
I've always waited for this day.
$5 is fucking like. Oh, that's
Dude, just
That's
go
fine.
for it. What else do you have at this point?
that's broken too, right? Yeah.
Yep. Might as well just leave.
Top 10 anime portrayals.
I mean, here's the bright side. Okay, fucking going to kamikaze me. Jump.
Wait, Yellow Spot killed me!
He just got a random kill. He's like, what the fuck?
All right, let's do one more because that one didn't count.
I got one more. They're stuck in the parking lot. We can't leave.
So, Noob and Jamal.
I got 5 fucking kills though.
I got 4. I just want to point out that fucking I knocked down so many fucking people. Like fucking Andrew's like, oh, there's this people over on the hill, and Meteor's watching, and it's like fucking back up.
We're just like, don't down,
Andrew
don't
hits one, I hit one.
down. Like, and no one had any gear, so it's just drop.
Fucking count
That
my
was so
fucking
much
bullets.
fun.
Yeah, I got like one more in me.
Same.
And then
I
I'm
mean,
probably
that one
gonna
wasn't
sleep.
really. Oh yeah, hold on, I can get a crate. Please tell me I got something new.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I
I can't
got.
believe I shot them in the foot.
Look at how different I look now. I got a long sleeve t-shirt, so now I look just like Jamal.
None of them had any fucking bandages, of course. No
There is
first aid
no one,
kits,
no
no
one fucking had any birth
nothing.
tickets.
I wasn't drunk the last time I played Minecraft, was I? And or 2017.
Oh, you have to make the actually pause, like.
Jamal
seriously,
was, I
wasn't drunk when
remember.
played Minecraft last time.
Jamal
Was
got
I?
went on a fucking tirade and blew up everyone's homes.
I did.
Grimhood, like, is basically been controlling the server with creative mode.
He's not in creative mode though.
He is though.
No, he's not.
He is.
I took him out of it.
Then, wait. Why is this house made of solid diamond?
Because all Grim does right now is play Minecraft.
Actually. Why do these guys have dog tags? I want dog tags.
You have that tag.
Not everyone has them.
That's how many chicken dinners you got.
Is it actually?
I don't know.
That's why I knew has none.
Yeah. Fuck you. I have a bone because the.
Why don't you guys just say victories? Why is it chicken dinner?
Oh, I see. I had to sit in the back. Noob sits in the front.
Actually, my screen in the front.
Yeah, in my screen you're in the front.
Jamal, you're in the front.
Oh.
Me and Andrew are in the back.
Never mind.
Oh. The
Also,
front
I
of the
just
plane
now
comes
noticed
back.
there's that. Okay, that explains why. Okay, there's two sections.
Why is there? Why? Yeah. There's,
Thought I
why,
said
why?
this.
Why are there dog tags with like little bullets on them? I never noticed that.
So you can fucking kill yourself. This is a shitty fucking...
Military base.
Fuck it. Everyone else
Fuck
go.
it.
That seems like a terrible idea, though. I'm
Wanna
gonna go
drop
to
a
that small
yellow?
town. Let's. Ooh.
Yeah,
I'm going green.
I'm going yellow.
I'd rather be far away and meet up with you guys than be caught in the middle of shit.
Well, actually, no, wait, I'm not going yellow because that's just things. Those are just turbines.
No, put it on the fucking proper building. Oh, okay. Oh, that's the one I meant.
How many other people are with you guys?
Oh, I
Holy
see
shit.
a whole squad of people. I see 2 squads of people.
There's about 5
I see
squads.
3 squads of people. And one's gonna get into that building that I wanted to.
Fuck it, go to
Oh,
the roof.
maybe not. He turned around and
Oh,
went to the
okay,
fucking...
never mind.
Well, I wish you guys the best of
Okay.
luck. Do you have your fidget spinners all prepped?
Yes.
Yeah, in my anus.
Mine's in my dick hole.
Okay, I got a pan. I win. GG.
New meta.
Do melee weapon headshots deal more damage?
Yes.
Quick draw mag for SMG. What else we got?
And I found a scar.
Yeah. At least I'm not gonna die immediately.
I have a
If do,
machete.
then-
Machete.
I have a machete, a frag grenade, and 2 extended mags. Oh, and an M16 now.
Okay, I got a vest now.
I got a backpack. And okay. Pistol and a
I
backpack.
wonder if we should help those guys out.
I'm
I'm so surprised that no one else fucking dropped over here. It's like a very popular spot. Oh, backpack, good.
Ooh, level 2 police vest.
Ooh, level 2 backpack.
Ooh, an actual med kit. Alright, if anyone needs healing, I can do that now. Frag grenade, holy shit.
Okay, I'm going over to the noob.
Yeah, I'm going over them too. This is my
Once I
last
get
game,
an
so let's make this
actual-
one worth it.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair,
as is with mine. unless
I
it's
was
just
waiting
me.
for it to get fucking, like, sniped immediately.
Someone gets a red dot. Can you guys please be like really nice and
Holy
please so I
shit.
don't have to use these fucking dildo sites?
wait, there's a fucking extended fucking quick draw mag? Holy shit,
Yeah,
that's good.
best of both worlds.
You get
I
no
like
trash,
I got a
no
level
trash.
1 vest on, okay.
And I found you a holographic site.
That's better than nothing. There's
So
a
how can you
crossbow
have-
over here. Someone wants something.
How come it hasn't changed daytime yet? Like, it doesn't change. They promised.
Damn, man, this building's fucking huge.
It is.
I was trying to like run up the sides to, you know, go around and keep looping back into the middle. And
So how far are we? Well, we're not that bad far.
And our. And then also there's that.
what was that? Oh, thank you.
If I get an SMG, I'm fucking set, but then I never do. I just find parts for it.
Oh, cool, the blue room. There's, like, nothing at all in the blue room.
That makes me sad.
I don't need fucking bullet loops for a goddamn...
Sorry! And we are getting shot at, by the way.
I wonder why.
Be
the
Scared the
fucking
shit out of me.
5.56 that was pressed against my fucking chest and fired on point blank with 0 chance of missing unless sometimes space and time fucking
Scared the
bend.
shit out of me.
Yeah, I scared the shit out of you after you're out of the fucking building for 6 seconds.
Well, I just turned around there and I just fucking see a guy like right in the middle of my crosshairs. So I just pulled the trigger. I think I scared the shit out of my neighbors when I yelled that.
You scared the shit out of me because I thought, oh, it's Andar, and then I fucking get shot. I'm like, oh, wait, it's Andar.
ECP. What's the name of the fully automatic pistol, by the way?
The P18.
Oh,
ET. Okay,
it's
cool.
Glock.
That's block.
You know, but Glock only fires in bursts, right?
No, that one fires full auto.
I played CSGO one time.
One time.
Jamal was there for it. He kept screaming at me.
I did.
Sorry, noob.
Ow.
I will give you my first painkillers or
Fine,
bandages.
everybody.
Did I fuck up a vest that you had?
You did. I only have like half who are remaining.
So lucky it was just one shot. It was on. Thank God it was on 7.
You would have fucking let me up.
I saw the
Also, we
person,
got-
I clicked, and then I saw the fucking name tag. Yeah, we better start. And then Fruity swimming across the.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
That's gonna take a long time.
Surprisingly not, actually. I'm almost there.
No, you're not even halfway yet.
Look,
And then
Holy fuck!
over here.
Ugh.
It's only 2-person though.
Oh shit! A boat just ran me over.
You and Andar, you and Demago, I'll meet up.
This is my plan all along. My last day at work, I'm gonna get everybody fucking sick.
And if you see Dr. Breen, tell him I said.
Fuck you.
He doesn't say that though.
Hey, Andar. It does.
It gets censored.
Literally all of it.
There's nothing much in here to begin with.
He goes like, if you see Dr. Breen.
And a shotgun.
I wish I could hear Dr. B.
Now I wish I took that fucking choke. Oh wow, there's a lot of ammo.
If you see Dr. Beater, tell him Beater.
Hey, Beater.
Hey, Beater.
Hey, Beater. Hey, Beater. I'm not gonna lie, I could have just walked across the bridge in this time probably, but
I think I'm gonna go pick up Noob.
Do you have a car?
That's fine. I'm just gonna fucking die from my wounds. Okay.
Hey, I have a shotgun now.
Be careful not to fucking run me over. Okay.
Here, I'll go get him.
That's fine. I'm still looting these towers.
Nah, I'll go get him.
By the way, the zone's slowly advancing, you guys might want to
Gotta
get moving
put
soon.
them down. Oh, fine.
Oh, AK. Cool.
Oh, you fucking did
With
it.
no fucking. AK, but oh, there was some ammo. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna carry the ammo, but.
Rock out the ship.
Should I fucking?
Of both worlds.
Yeah. Okay. What a shotgun.
Hey, level 2 best. Cool. I'm doing that.
I mean, there's no reason not to start looting shit.
I got so scared. 1 second. Let me check one thing first.
Your
Okay, I
pants.
gotta go running towards.
Hey,
the
cool. Level
bridge.
3. Look at that.
A level 3 helmet or level 3 vest?
What are you gonna do? You start me off?
Level 3 inbred dickwad.
Inbred dick.
Actually, wait, watch out this little bunker here now.
Alright, I guess I'm just drifting.
Tokyo Drifter. Jeez, noob, why are you missing so much health?
Well, you see.
It's a lot of damage for a single
Hey,
fucking.
level 3 best. Cool. Thank you.
Shouldn't friendly fire do less damage? Dude, level 2 helmet go again. Let's just have that not match my fucking outfit.
It's a fucking
at
Jeep
all.
right there.
Yeah, I thought I
Oh
just
my
saw-
god.
Here, we'll go pick up Andar.
There's a bike there.
Go take that.
Sure. 1 second. 1 second. Okay,
damn
go,
it.
go.
I wanted to take that.
No! It's the fucking death machine. Ender almost killed me one today.
Inbred dick. Wow.
Actually, I just teleport in.
Huh. Switch my fucking Uzi to single fire so I don't waste that ammo on it.
I'm going straight across the bridge.
God help it.
This is gonna suck. Sitting in the
Okay,
back
read it.
seat.
Sitting in the front seat.
Move, please.
Where's that?
This is,
Really?
You want to camp it?
I don't know. The vehicle stopped here, so I'd rather not keep driving.
Where do you want me to stop?
I don't know. Maybe. Man, pretty much anywhere here is gonna be a lot of people, so just keep fucking driving and.
we'll eventually meet up at some point, right?
I mean, we're met up.
I mean, yeah. I'm gonna catch up. I'm gonna be the last person alive.
Wow, it took him
Shots
half
fucking
an hour to
at
get
these.
to the fucking parking lot.
Zone's starting to catch up. I suppose I'll go a bit faster. Unless it's a Jeep over there, in which case, fuck it. I don't think that Jeep works, but...
You gonna check out that bunker?
Sure. That light looked like a fucking person. Setting this fucking thing to full auto.
Everything in this fucking game looks like a person. It's goddamn annoying.
Except for the people.
Yeah, the people don't most of the time. You can hardly tell when there's like 4 people on a hill.
The people look like just gigantic walking dicks.
Jamal, I got that, and I got that.
Thank you.
Oh,
Oh,
suppressed
sniper rifle. Yeah, I'll hold on to that.
Happen?
Kind of suppressive for a sniper rifle.
Ooh.
What's happening?
Without some pants. Oh, hey, here's a 4x scope.
I'm not gonna take that.
I'll take it. Somebody, can you grab it for me?
I already got it.
I was fucking.
I literally cannot hit shit with that thing anymore.
It's kind of garbage.
Where's the...
It's because it doesn't fucking work as it should.
Wait, what doesn't?
The 4x scope doesn't actually aim where it should.
Yeah, I don't... The 4 times bugs the fuck out of me. I just... Honestly, red dot's a lot better.
8 times is...
Oh yeah,
2 times is
fucking.
alright.
Well, 8 times is like, hey, you want to kill that
15
guy?
times is Jesus Christ, I can see your newspaper from 5 miles away.
There's a 2 times.
Oh, hey, there's an 8 times. Perfect.
I like 30 times scope, so I just
Oh, hey, a
see
vector.
the fucking... I see the
I'll put the 2
germs.
times on my fucking...
Hold on, there's a germ on your face, but bang, he's dead.
Frying pan over here. Butt armor.
We'll go to that town next.
Man, there's a lot of fucking... Perfect. So,
It's very
a
calming.
compensator. 556.
I really do like this countryside. You know, very calming, relaxing. I should move to Russia someday.
Compensator for
Black.
both rifles. Well, batteries.
That bush.
Man, there's a
actually
lot
looks
of
like
fucking
a-
shotguns in here. General's that the way up?
Yeah.
Please don't tell me that fucking far. Oh god, the doors are open here. People have actually fucking been here.
Though it's a bit helmet here if you want. Crossbow here if you know.
Oh, I see a player, like, right above you guys.
Where?
He's, like, actually on the ground level. He just went into a building. I'm gonna get him. If I
Oh,
can
we
fucking
are-
find him again.
Fucking in the catacombs.
Look out for the Draugr.
It's your puzzle shit.
Match the
Yeah,
thing.
level 3. I have level 3 everything. Cool.
Oh, why is no one laughing at that joke? I heard Skyrim's still a popular
Oh,
game.
that's
That's
General.
That's me, that's me. He's inside the building. I hit him 3 times. Oh shit. Alright, okay, I just got shot the fuck up by like 6 people.
What?
Alright, so there's
You're
2
actually-
people on top of the bunker entrance.
Dude, come this way.
Okay, I gave away the position of everybody in the area. They're looting me right now.
I wonder if we should put the fucking 8 times on the fucking AK at this point.
Yeah, I just got wrecked there, dude. Dead.
If I could have saved you, Jamal, I would have.
Are they on top of the bunker?
They were on top of the bunker.
Oh, they're close. They're running southwest, but they are southeast of us.
See, I see you think what's me?
Oh shit! I knocked one out, but one knocked me out.
I fucking get you. Yeah, go back down. No, I'll get you.
I'm gonna get in here so it's a little bit more cover. Sorry.
Fine.
There we go.
Good thing you had a fucking 2 times. Level 2 helmet, I guess.
I think I domed the guy.
Can I steal that scope, the 8 times?
Wait, do you have a sniper rifle?
No, but I'm not doing too good. Up to you, man. If you're patching up, I know. Up to you.
Do you want it 2 times?
I have 2 times, and I was asking.
Okay.
Oh, door, but it's fine.
You're all beautiful.
He's probably
Oh!
getting.
That's safe.
Ooh, airdrop. If I get a car, I'll be fucking set. It's an awful lot of 45 ACP.
Okay.
Fuck, he's right there.
Yeah, no, I can't get him.
Nope, 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 we're button. Move out.
I guess I'm bandaging some more. I was a dumbass and I tried to
I
fucking
think they're
pull
coming
out.
in.
I got a stun grenade.
Oh, we're so fucked, dude. Here, you watch that door, guys. I watch this door.
Yeah.
There's
I have cover from both doors, so they probably have someone coming in like that way. I wish there was a helmet in this fucking game.
That away. Over there.
Hey, do you want my helmet?
No.
Sure.
Yes.
There's just 3 revolvers here. Ammo will last me a while if I get a fucking AK at some point here.
Here, actually, there's a level 1 helmet up here. In there.
Fucking nothing.
Better nothing. Ain't gonna chase us in here. Still in the zone. So. Barely.
Yeah, but good luck getting through this fucking maze to get out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna slowly move up and check my corners
Let me go with you.
if you want.
Why are you distracted? Oh my god.
Oh man, my fucking shadow's gonna show. Oh shit, this is like the worst plan ever.
I have a shotgun if you want me to check corners.
Okay. You picked up that auto shotgun?
Yep. Clear to me. Yeah, the car though. Who the fuck are you?
I'm checking out other streamers while
Oh,
I'm
they could be right fucking above
There
us.
is, yeah, I heard one.
Well, don't say that. You're not viewing your
Oh,
own
I saw
stream.
one there, I saw one there.
Well,
Who's to
I'm
the right?
sorry, I'm dead. I have to pass the time
He ran
somehow.
away. Oh no, dude!
What?
Okay, there's a ramming in here.
I feel like at some point I'm going to catch up to all these people who've been looting these houses.
So, is this where we leave now?
Oh,
Fuck, I literally jumped.
I'm gonna fucking throw a flash, look out.
Okay, go, do it. I'm not gonna get hit by it. He threw it too! Pull back.
Flash?
No, I didn't get flashed, but...
Oh, fucking.
Oh shit, my pan!
And I'm just fucking hold this corner with the fucking shotgun.
Okay, I'm gonna...
A moonshine.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking tell them when you're... I'm gonna tell you when they're coming now, okay?
They're not gonna push us.
I might. This thing's way too fucking long to try and find where the other exit is.
Yeah, I love all this pistol ammo.
Fuck you, fruit.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not dead yet.
Fuck you.
I ain't dead yet.
You want me to go out and...
Fire me. You actually try that exit? Fuck it. Fuck it. You trying to watch out? How do you just try that actually? The number counting, but fuck it.
Alright. I suppose. Off we go.
I can hear them running towards the exit.
Yeah.
There's SKS here, shit, one second.
I found the exit, but...
one way you can find out if it's safe or not. Yep, there's someone there.
I like how they fucking missed you in the like most bizarre way possible. They were shooting over top of you.
So what do we do?
I don't know.
You die.
You will die.
Here, I'm gonna run away. Okay, I'm gonna make noise.
I'm almost next to you guys, by the way. I could come over and help. Are you guys like held in by
Oh,
people?
fuck me. God damn, that hurt. Yeah, we're in a bunk. We're in a fucking bunker.
Want me to come over?
You can
Never
try.
mind. Actually, maybe
Oh
not.
well, I can't. The fucking zones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you're fucked. Sorry.
Yep, so, oh fuck, this shit at you. Fuck Anthony, you just wanna fucking go like Blaze of Glory?
Well, there's a vehicle driving around there, so they might be coming in.
One shot at glory. One night.
So I'm just shooting maybe that car.
Fuck it. There's people there. You're fine. Damn, nice work, one more.
Andor has no
Nice.
fucking remorse.
Fucking work.
Might as well get some real estate before the fucking battle starts.
Fruit's gonna buy a house.
He's not gonna push it now. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, you have to run so far.
You're probably not gonna make it. Because this is also the last zone, so the damage it does is gonna be fucking bad. Unless you get a car, you might have a chance. And I don't see any guns.
Where the fuck? Gotcha, bitch!
Behind you, behind you, behind you, behind you.
Nice. Oh, there's
Where?
a guy here.
Oh, you're fucked.
Oh, no,
No!
No!
he tried. You got 4 of them, I'll give you that. Why? He's coming to kill you. Like, really? Oh, he's coming to get the car, never mind.
That was my fucking Jeep.
Deny him the kill. Oh, he can't. No.
Andor just turns into different
The
kitchen
Leslie
supplies.
Stays. The legacy is now with fruit. Oh, someone's in your house, great.
What?
Someone's opened the door.
What? Fruit, that door just fucking opened up for free. They know you're there.
You better aim the fucking
And-
shotgun. Oh, there's 2, yeah.
Set that bitch to full auto.
Did someone actually open the door? Or you
Yes,
just
that
saying
door
shit?
fucking just opened.
That one right there?
Yes,
I opened that.
We heard door open.
it fucking opened inwards.
I mean, if you open the door and pull on it, it's gonna open that way.
I know, but you can't do it in this game.
I mean, I don't know.
It
I'm
has
just
amnesia
saying.
controls.
Ugh.
Turrets get shot. Fucking every CS:GO game ever.
Fuck it, just push him. Fuck it, you don't, what do you have to lose?
That wasn't your vehicle, was it?
Door, look at the door.
For just settling down here. It's looking
Yeah,
to
it's
a
settle
nice house.
finally.
Good neighborhood.
You hear
Gunshots
gunshots coming in every direction. I have rations, a coffee mug.
New pair of pants. Would you inevitably shit yourself in 10 seconds when
Wait.
the guy comes around the
They're
corner?
coming in. Hear that?
You can just probably see your shotgun.
Yeah?
Oh no.
Click hold and run out.
Don't do that. Oh no, what are you doing? Oh my god, you actually topped me.
That's why you don't play
Wait.
first.
Damn it, wait.
Damn it, no
Oh.
corb.
I was hoping to kamikaze him. Shit.
Well, that was a
Oh, I
fun
should've-
thing to end off on.
Oh
10th
god.
place, not bad.
I mean, hey, I live more than everyone else.
I mean, I'm fucking the ice level and crawling very slowly. Like, I wonder if they're here. Yep. I think this mate saw me.
I should have just waited in this fucking closet with a shotgun.
It's
That was fun though. Those are some fun fucking games.
It's only fucking midnight, oh my god.
Can't wait till they patch
That's what
this
happens
game.
whenever Andor gets on like 3 hours before it usually does.
It's true.
Oh, I'm so close to getting another crate.
Alright, I'm gonna fucking bail for the night. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, I have to be at work early for my last
same.
Same here.
long shift like that.
I know, did you be at work at 6 today?
I have to get up
Maybe
at
over-
6.
get up at 6?
I had to get up at 6 today and have to get up at 6 tomorrow.
Same here. Great.
Well, I think my game crashed anyway, so
Gotta drive my girlfriend to work.
guess we're control alt deleting out of that.
Well, Andor, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Goodbye, friends.
See